But I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you.
You have part of my attention. You have the minimum amount.
I'm the guy who does his job. You must be the other guy.
You got a lot of problems, don't you?
Oh, it's good to be back.
I don't know. You don't know? It means all go fuck yourself.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore.
You can't handle the truth.
I need it for my nose.
The top 30, we have reached it. And I'm not happy. I'm not happy because Koho's still on this panel. I'm not happy that Jake hasn't found out what good movies are. I'm upset that Boatman has to upset every time that he doesn't get to win. And Kirk, you're just living in dreamland. So good job. He won last week, but that really doesn't matter. Boatman, thank you for wearing the flannel that I don't think you've ever washed. How are you doing?
I have multiple different flannels.
Who believes it? Put in the comment. Start a poll. I don't believe it. I believe he has multiple. I don't believe he washes them.
Then yes, I agree with you.
Anyway, what was the question?
I don't care. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I know Joseph. He won last week. I said he won 1 week. Calm down. Jake, what French trilogy are you going to have on your list this week that we can talk about for 3 straight spots?
So, Holy Mountain aside, I think last week was pretty good as far as what Cody sees on my list. Relatively
it's like a teacher asking you to turn in all your homework, and that time you actually turned in 80% of your homework. It was nice.
Oh, yeah.
It was still D-, but it was still better.
Better than the 60% the previous weeks. No, I'm looking forward to the. I'm here to have fun. I've said this. I've always said this. I think I'm getting repetitive saying this. I enjoy this. This is fun. Also, for no reason, shout out Brooklyn Vail. You'll know what I mean, but.
Probably off in a call somewhere.
Yeah,
they're all on the call. Hey, by the way, if there's a group watching, pull up YouTube on your own devices so I can get some views off that. All right, seriously. I don't want the one-time watch. Kirk, some would say that you cannot lose. Your list sucks at this point. I don't know if that's true because we haven't seen the top half, but you have the highest winning percentage. How are you feeling tonight?
I feel strong. My top 30 is strong. My 30 through 21 specifically is a lot of good movies on here. I think it's a matter of what you've seen and just, where our paths cross on certain movies. But I'm feeling good about this week. I think we'll have another comeback.
Well, if Lady Bird ain't there for the second time, we'll be in good shape. And Koho.
Hi.
We haven't announced it yet, but you are the only one that has made an alteration to your top 100. Yep. I don't know if it'll be this episode or not, but how are you feeling tonight? I think it's guaranteed no 90s, nothing past 2000. So how are you feeling?
This is my last chance to win a week. I feel really good about this week. My next 2 weeks, I've got no shot in hell at winning. So my goal is to win here and now. Today we are going to cancel the apocalypse for 1 week and then lose the next 2 with style. So.
All right. Well, again, I want to appreciate everybody for showing up. Star, Drew, Joseph, Michael, Paul, Diaz, Brooklyn, no one cares. Cameron Holtzman, I think Barr, he's always here. He's like, sup, nerds. Maybe he's not here today. Is he not here? That's impressive. Okay, well, guess what, guys? We can get away with saying whatever we want right now. Twohig's here. Okay, so we're going to start. Boatman, you know how this works by now. Hopefully, take it away.
Okay.
Pause. Sorry, respect the pause. Next week, everybody in the chat, next week, we are going an hour earlier for the next 2 episodes. So it's going to be a long episode. We're going to be in it for the long haul. We don't want you to be here till midnight. So we're going to start an hour earlier to make sure we get enough through all our top 1. And then the following, after the next 2 weeks, we will do a recap show, and we will reveal the full top 100 for everybody. So please just remember that. Now, Boatman, you're free to talk.
All right. My 30 is Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
I had that lower.
Okay. And my 29, Kirk had it lower, The King of Comedy. And my 28, Billy Wilder's The Apartment. Okay. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I think this is just such an incredibly fun movie. And I think I've heard different arguments about the main character. Some people say, well, Ferris is just a raging douchebag. Some people are like, no, he is like this charming, lovable, guy. And I see both arguments, and I think we're kind of supposed to take Ferris and Cameron as the package deal, right? Cameron is the one who's a little more considerate. He cares a little bit more about people's feelings, but he needs Ferris there to actually get him to go live his life. And I love that dynamic between Cameron and Ferris. And there are just so many clever, fun moments. I love Abe Froman, the Sausage King of Chicago, and just the way that he avoids Mr. Ernie. I think it's a whole lot of fun.
This was my 34. This is my favorite John Hughes. This and Breakfast Club kind of go back and forth with me a little bit, but right now this is my favorite one. I think this has a lot of heart. And it's like the go-to sick day movie. Like when you're sick, this is the movie you throw on because it's fun. You get to kind of live vicariously this perfect day through Ferris, which I think is Matthew Broderick's best performance in his career, probably. It's a fun time. Boatman kind of covered most of it. There's so many great parts to this, but this is my go-to sick day movie. So
my 29 is the King of Comedy, and I think this is like Robert De Niro's best performance ever, in my opinion. I think he is so good at being a little bit pathetic, a little bit creepy, but still funny. And like he's doing all these things because you still relate to the character of Rupert Pupkin. For those who don't know, this is about an aspiring stand-up comedian who kidnaps a late show host in order to get on his show. And there's a lot of fun, but there's also like this tone of sad and desperation. I think Scorsese was like the perfect director to tackle this, and he had so much flair to this movie, so much comedy and so much darkness. I think this movie is just awesome. And my 28, sorry, Kirk.
Yeah, that's okay. King Comedy is my 42. Yeah, everything Boatman said's right. This is just a great, like, perfect Scorsese comedy. Rupert Pupkin is kind of like Travis Bickle, but like just like with a comedy twist. That same like antisocial person, completely lacking in self-awareness, who thinks he can be great and just isn't. The one person who really makes this movie shine is Jerry Lewis. He plays the talk show host that gets kidnapped. And he is so good. There's a scene, just because Rupert Pupkin is such a pathetic, stupid character, and even when he does, pulls off his caper, he's screwed up the whole time. And watching Jerry Lewis kind of play the straight man to that. The scene with the cue cards is my favorite scene. Just Jerry Lewis just trying to get through it. Like he's not even scared. He's not even worried. He's just annoyed. And he just gives a very brilliant performance in this movie. And the whole thing's great.
All right, and my 28 is Billy Wilder's The Apartment. Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine. They are both just perfect in balancing the comedy, the depression, everything going on in this movie. I think they're both just absolutely fantastic in this film. For those who don't know, it's basically about this employee who lends off his apartment to his bosses so they can have extramarital affairs, and how he kind of falls in love with one of his boss's mistresses, essentially played by Shirley MacLaine, and how this movie handles both the comedy and the drama. I think is excellent. I think this is Billy Wilder's best movie by far, but he's a fantastic, maybe not by far, but he's a fantastic director.
I think that's a backpedal. I'm not 100% sure.
That's a backpedal.
For first, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Best John Hughes. Incorrect. It came out, I think, the year after this. That's Plane, Trains, and Automobiles. But I really do like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. The whole principal and the secretary kind of relationship, and like I've always wanted to reenact that scene where Cameron pretty much plays the dad and is like insulting because you can just imagine on the other end of how somebody really reacts, like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, you should be sorry. Just the whole antics and stuff between it. I think it's really good. I have no problem with this movie being your top 30. I absolutely think this is one of the best 80s comedies by far. Your next one, King Comedy. My favorite movie of 2019 copied this movie pretty well. Joker. So you got me on this one too. Boatman's going to be hard to catch so far this week. This movie is absolutely incredible. I rewatched it. I have to agree with Boatman. I think this is De Niro's best performance. I think it honestly is. He's incredible in this movie. And Jerry Lewis absolutely kills it in this movie. And then your next one, the 28th Apartment. My favorite Lemon and Shirley MacLaine is Irma La Douce. I will have to. That's the one I will have to argue. I think they're fantastic in that one. Maybe it's more of a comedy side of it that I like. But I think they're great. Don't get me wrong. The Apartment is up there. The Apartment is just that's Wilder. Like, that's his movie that most people will refer to him. That's the one that if you see a Wilder, but there's so many other ones that I just like a lot more. But this is the best start out Wilder for me. If you watch this and you like this, all Wilder is open game for you. What does everybody else think about Boatman's 30 through 28?
I haven't seen King of Comedy or The Apartment, and I'd already talked about Ferris Bueller. So.
Why haven't you seen The Apartment yet? I think this was on a watch list for a long time, my friend.
I took a break from Wilder, and I never went back, so I need to go.
Let me tell you, if you want to keep my Prime, watch it, because it's on there. If you don't, I'm taking it away from you.
I will watch it tonight.
I have not seen The Apartment, unfortunately. I need to do a Billy Wilder marathon. You need to guide me through somebody. That's let's not get into that. But King Comedy is great. Really love it. I really love the scene when they're coming out of the car and then Pumpkin's constantly asking Jerry, "Hey, I'll come back in next week and tomorrow and schedule and all that sort of stuff." And he just keeps adding on, and the scene keeps going. It's so good. Impressive movie. Really love that. And then Ferris Bueller's Day Off, I think it's fun. Really like it. I really like the scene with when Cameron's pretending to be Sloane's dad, and it's just like with the realization that it's not who thinks it's Ferris when it's not. It's just so brilliant. The dolly zoom in on him is so good. But yeah.
Ferris Bueller, I really enjoy. It's my favorite of that genre of subgenre of 80s comedy. Every character in those movies is a douchebag. I don't know why Ferris gets a hard time about it. That was the prototype character for those movies, and I think Boatman's right. His relationship with Cameron, how he takes care of Cameron, kind of redeems him. The Apartment, I really like. They're just like you said, Cody. There are a few Wilder movies I like a lot better.
Okay, Jake. Oh, gosh, I don't know where we're going. Last time was Holy Mountain, so I should just imagine.
Number 30 is The Revenant. Number 29 is Big Lebowski.
Yikes.
Vomit.
We'll get to it. Do I have to say 28?
Sure.
Number 28 is Schizopolis.
Oh, Boatman is still in the lead by a margin.
Well, I'm not shocked by that. All right, so Revenant. This is when I started to become a humongous Alejandro Inarritu fan after his movie from 2014 that I will not say. And I was looking forward to, immediately after that was released, I was looking forward to The Revenant. And he's making a film coming out next year. Leo was in it. I was like, this has everything to be a great movie. So I had to wait till 2016 January to see it with my parents, and it was incredible. One of my favorite film experiences that I've ever had. It just captures the cold environment perfectly. Emmanuel Lubezki is my favorite cinematographer, and it is one of the most visually stunning movies you could ever see. Incredibly worth seeing in the theater. You just feel every sense of breath and the coldness and the insanity of how they filmed everything. It looks like it cost $150 million. Like, every piece of money was well spent. I really love Leo's character arc as someone who, not literally, but metaphorically comes back from the dead, and kind of his resurrection and redemption to redeem irregularities in the death of his son. And I just really love that relationship that they both have at the beginning of the movie, and Leo just gives so much to this performance, and I just really believe that he deserved the Oscar. He just put so much into the character. Tom Hardy's also excellent. Everyone makes fun of his accent and the belts and all that stuff, but I just he really has more depth than you would have in like a revenge story, and it's just a really just excellent, meticulously crafted film that I just absolutely appreciate on every level. and I can't put my 28. So my 29, 20. So I can't put my 29, 28 is Schizopolis. This is up there for weird. This is, I mean, people know he directed. Steven Soderbergh directed this movie. It's kind of one of his weird ones that he did in the late 90s before he became the director of Ocean's Trilogy and Traffic and all that sort of stuff. He directed this, he wrote this, he produced this, he stars in it, he edited it, he composed the score, he did a lot of stuff. It's about a guy who works for a company that's basically like a Scientology like religion called evangelism, and he has to write a speech for the head L. Ron Hubbard-esque character. And he finds out that his doppelganger, who's a dentist, is having an affair with his wife. And it's kind of just weird situations. There's a lot of sketches and weird stuff. There's a pest killer man who's also, he's given a reality show, and there's a lots of weird experimental stuff going on in the movie. This is not a Cody movie by far. I really love this movie. It's very weird, and I just get a kick out of seeing it. It's also very funny, unlike my type of level of comedy.
Okay, so you're 30. I absolutely love The Revenant. I really do. I know it got a lot of flack. I know because it's like he won the Oscar because all the other work. I just really enjoyed the movie. I like the hunt down. I like the thing. I mean, I maybe could have used less shots of like trees and stuff. That would have been nice, but I know what they were going for. But I'm with you. When I watched it in theaters, how cold I felt watching this movie was almost unbearable. Now, that could have been that my theater had poor heating, or that the movie made me feel that way. One of the two. But overall, the whole struggle. I think Tom Hardy is good in this movie. I know that a lot of people, it's the pelts. But overall, like, that's the character, and he did a really good job selling it. The Bison Hard. I'll hear Koho in a second just talk about blah, 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 blah bullshit. But you know what? The man would have died in, like, the first 30 seconds of this movie. But it's a movie, and he survives, and he fucking kills. Yeah, it's great. So I have no problem with that. And I watched a trailer. So I watched Razorhead without seeing anything. I said, Jake makes a list. I need to watch a trailer. I watched the trailer. Hard pass on this one. I'll be honest with you. He may be the First Order's Lord and Savior. He ain't mine. What does everybody else think about? Well, I think most people haven't seen Schizo, so I'm curious of what they'll think about The Revenant.
I watched the trailer for Schizopolis because I didn't know what it was. But the moment I saw Soderbergh's face on the poster, I went, "Why do I know that?" And I went, "That's because it's Jake's fucking YouTube profile picture."
Not Kevin Feige, Adelaide Spence.
Yeah. And then I've seen The Revenant. The Revenant's good. I think it gets a lot of hate. Leo, it's not my favorite from that year, and Leo's not the person I would have given the Oscar to personally. I think he should have won for Wolf, absolutely, in 2013. And the year before, should have been nominated for supporting and won for Django. But I personally would take Fassbender and Steve Jobs, but I'm also super biased because I love his performance in that movie. But yeah, no, Lubeski shoots that movie great. He won 3 cinematography awards in a row for a reason. He's really good, and The Revenant is shot really well. So little high for me, but I get it.
Yeah, I think this is one of those movies that I respect more than I enjoy. I think it's an incredible technical achievement, and I think it's exactly the movie it's trying to be. It's just not a movie that it's not really a Boatman movie, I guess is what you would say for me. I don't love it, but I appreciate it and I respect it.
Haven't seen Schizopolis, obviously. The Revenant, it is a great looking movie. A lot of really cool stuff to look at. That attack on the camp early on is just a really great scene. However, I got to see this movie. Leonardo DiCaprio gets attacked. The main character gets attacked by the bear, throat slash, blood sprays everywhere. I'm like, oh, they just killed their main character. That's a twist I wasn't expecting. Let's see where this goes. They bury him. He survives. Goes and falls into a freezing river. Doesn't get hypothermia. Survives. The guy should be dead 15 times. So finally, this Native American medicine man comes along and starts to heal. I'm like, okay, finally, I can at least suspend my disbelief and, kind of buy that this guy's still alive. Immediately, right after that, rides a horse off a cliff. Survives. It's a cartoon. The only way I can really
That's
buy this
insane.
movie is in my head canon. It's a Wolverine prequel. That's the only way I can accept this movie. But yeah, that's just my take on it.
Oh, that's great. Kirk, take it away.
My number 30 is Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Ooh,
I had that one.
My number 29 is Stand By Me. And
Yikes.
Okay. And my number 28, we haven't talked about Carousel in a minute. It's Throne of Blood. Okay. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Perfect Jimmy Stewart movie. It just like it should just that cockeyed like naive optimism should come off as so completely hokey. But in Stewart's hands and Capra hands, it works. It's just such a great movie, such a great character. Claude Rains is great. I think this is at least his movie. His story is at least as much as it is Smith's movie. It's about him kind of coming up against his old ideals and how there's been corrupted and him having to deal with that. I love the way this movie shot, especially the Senate chamber. They basically rebuilt the Senate chamber, the real Senate chamber, to scale, and just the way they shoot that on the different levels and the different angles, and the procedural aspect of it inside the Senate is really well done. The filibuster scenes are great. Just some really fantastic acting there. He's so good in that. And can I spoil Mr. Smith? Can I spoil this 80-year-old movie? Is that okay?
If you haven't seen it, it's your fault at this point. Spoiler.
Basically, this movie kind of on the surface is kind of like rah America, but if you look at it closer, it's kind of shows like the seedy underbelly of American politics, how it get corrupted. And when it came out, it was actually really vilified by a lot of powerful people in Washington. And the thing about it is that the young upstart, the guy, the everyman who's going to come and beat the system, he loses at the end. He really doesn't win. He collapses having lost. The only reason he works out for him is because Claude Rains changes his mind. So it's really kind of like a interesting take in a time where it was like everything was super patriotic, to kind of take a little bit of a darker turn in this kind of movie.
I had this on my list. I had it at 85. I think this one's really well done. This is this might be my favorite Stewart performance. I think during the filibuster scenes, he's just bearing his soul out completely. I think he's absolutely excellent in this movie. And just as you do kind of see, I agree with Kirk. You do kind of get to see the more corruption and everything going on, and what is claiming to be a patriotic movie, but I think, it is kind of holding the corruption's feet to the fire, so to speak.
Okay, my number 29, you yikes that, right? Boatman?
Yes. Stand by.
All right, and then my number 28, Akira Kurosawa's Throne of Blood. This is arguably two of the greatest storytellers in the history of the world, Shakespeare and Kurosawa joining forces. This is Kurosawa's take on Macbeth. I'm a big Shakespeare nerd, and one of the things I love about his work is how universal and applicable it is. And I love to see when you take it from out of its traditional setting to a different country, different culture, different time. This takes Macbeth out of Scotland to feudal Japan. And Kurosawa incorporates a lot of different elements from traditional Japanese theater. So it's very Shakespearean, but it's also very Japanese at the same time. Toshiro Mifune is great as Macbeth. You see he just does that descent into madness so well. His death scene is really great. Another spoiler, 400-year-old spoiler, Macbeth dies at the end. But his death scene is so well done. He dies in a flurry of arrows, and they had archers shooting real arrows at him in the scene. It's so well done. It really captures the ghost story elements of the story really well. With there's a lot of fog and lighting effects. The witches in this movie are replaced by spirits that are really creepy and just really kind of hard to look at, and a lot of that's taken from Japanese theater as well. Real creepy minimalist score. The movement of Burnham Wood. It's not called it's called something different, but the movement of the forest in this is the best take, the best I've ever seen that done on film or on stage. It just really looks otherworldly. A lot of really cool stuff about that. This is one of my favorite Carousel movies. Not my favorite yet, one of my favorites, and it is my favorite Shakespeare adaptation to film.
All right, so Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Great counterpunch for Boatman's 3 that he sent out. I absolutely love this movie. I think it's fantastic. Pretty much what you guys said. I don't know if it's my favorite Stewart performance. I'm trying to think in my head, but it probably is.
Maybe Vertigo. Or you haven't seen Vertigo.
Well, that's a Hitchcock movie, so that's not going to happen. Yeah. So overall, I think it's a great choice. Sorry, Michael, you're right. Just because the movie's old, maybe we shouldn't spoil it, but I think we gave warning. So get out, they come back. But yeah, I think people need to watch Mr. Smith Goes to Washington still because it's crazy. It came out in the 30s and it's still so relevant, but so inspiring and done super well. Like I think it's one of the best movies. That was what the movie should have been picked from 30 or 30 was 37, 39, 37,
39.
Yeah. So Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, great. And I don't like Shakespeare, and I definitely haven't seen this because I'm an uncultured swine. Anybody else seen comment on the bottom 2?
I haven't seen Throne of Blood. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington is good. It's very ahead of its time. I saw it a long time ago, so when I say it's good, it's because I saw it when I was like 17 for government class. So like it's literally not a like slide on the movie when I say it's good. It's just it's been a while.
So
but
don't have any reaction when like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles come up next. Okay.
Do you think I have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Who do you think I am? I haven't seen Throne of Blood, so.
Wouldn't it be awesome if we all sat here and he was like, Throne of Blood? Go ahead.
What?
I'm telling Jake to go on.
I've not seen Throne of Blood, and I have not seen Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. I have seen the remake with Mel Gibson. That's a good one.
Nicholas, too, with the title spoils it. He went to Washington. Okay, Koho. Let's go.
Okay. So my number 30 is a yikes from earlier. It's Avengers Endgame. My number 29 is a yikes from last week, Ratatouille. And my 28 is a yikes from a long time ago from Kirk, Creed. I believe Kirk actually had it at 82, so I have it the exact same. My number 30 Avengers Endgame. This is my favorite MCU. Every time I watch it, it just kind of I get everyone's thing with like, oh, it's the payoff. Of course you're gonna love it. It's all high up energy, but I think it's such a downer first hour where you really get to like see a different side of these characters that we never get to see before this. Really, you get to see them at their absolute worst. Like Hawkeye's out killing people. Tony is the only one to kind of come out unscathed. Cap runs a support group. And then Tony missing Peter, and everyone just kind of, that first hour is so powerful that when we get to the next 2 hours of the movie where we're bringing them back and then the final fight, it's all epic. It's all amazing. Of course, the portal scene's going to make me cry for the rest of my life. Every time I see it, I still cry. This is a movie that I think is probably always going to be my favorite theater experience ever, seeing this opening night. Every time I come back to Avengers Endgame, I love it just a little bit more. It will always be my favorite MCU movie for that. Go ahead, Kirk.
I disagree, Koho. I think if people are like, oh, of course you're gonna love it. It's like, no, this very easily could have gone horribly wrong. I mean, they had to culminate 10 years worth of movies into one conclusion. Just the fact that they stuck the landing at all, and we like this movie, even if we just said, yeah, it's pretty good. That's an accomplishment in and of itself. But it's a great story. It's a great ending. Just the fact that they were able, after Infinity War, the fact that they were able to do something, they were able to surprise us. I remember when Infinity War ended in my theater and people were actually crying over the characters dying. I'm like, dummies. Half these people have solo movies on the docket. they're going to be fine. But the fact they did it in a way that completely shocked you, I thought, okay, they got the time stone, everything's going to be all right. But they went a completely different way with it. Like Koho said, I love that first hour. I love how they take the L and they just have to kind of deal with that for a while. And that's a big chunk of the movie. I really love that about this. It's a great wrap up for Thanos. The way he ends, great. That whole like the whole last hour, 45 minutes, that battle from the three of them go out to face Thanos to the portal scene. Just the whole thing is fantastic. I still, I watched it this weekend. My son turned it on and walked away. I finished it, and I got choked up at the end. I mean, just the connection that they have and they keep with these characters is so great.
And I love you 3000. Obviously, the funeral will always break me up.
You know what gets me? Cheeseburgers.
Yes,
I break at cheeseburgers
every time.
Yep.
Your dad. Your dad loved cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
My 29 is Ratatouille. I think this is personally for me what I would consider to be the best Pixar movie. I think it takes everything that I love about Pixar in the idea that it's flipping your expectations on what something can be. And Ratatouille does that really well by making a rat, put him in a place where he should never be, and having him excel at what he's shouldn't be good at. I love the story. I find it really rewatchable. It's my favorite of Brad Bird's Pixar movies for sure. Honestly, if I try and pick the individual pieces and parts, I'll just get eye rolls. So I'll just leave it at Michael Giacchino's score as my favorite Pixar score of all time because it's actually part of the movie. But yeah, I've said everything that needs to be said about Ratatouille. So you guys go ahead.
Good to Creed.
I should mention this is the Yikes 5.
What did you? I did 32.
I'm hearing a lot of noise.
Yeah.
I have it at 35.
I was 32.
Okay.
So
just talk. Who cares?
Okay. Yeah. So I was at 32. I think this is I don't want to this is Pixar doing something that's in their wheelhouse, but also it's more of a slower tone. It's more of trying to get more personal with the characters. I love the dynamics between the characters. I think there's also a lot of fun. I love the kitchen staff. I think Brad Bird doing just really neat stuff here. I think that Patton Oswalt voices Remy to a T. And I love what this says about art and criticism. I think that's what this movie is about as a whole, is art and criticism. And I think the critic's speech at the end is just fantastic.
Yeah, I had this at 35. This is my favorite Pixar movie. Thank you, Joseph, for making me rewatch it. I absolutely love this. I agree with Koho. The score is fantastic. It is my favorite. One of my favorite scores of all time, in my top 10 for sure. I really just love that it just executes the idea of a rat controlling a human through his hair like a puppet, and sticks with it and sticks the landing and just perfectly executes that idea, because that sounds so stupid. It sounds like a stupid idea, and yet Brad Bird is able to perfectly execute that idea. It's a brilliant concept that they do, and I do agree. I really love the themes of being an artist and the value of criticism. It all does it so well, and I think it is the most mature Pixar film. And that's why I like to go back to it, because I really appreciate everything that the film is trying to say.
And my 28, Creed. This is the best of the Rockies for me. I think from day one, when I heard they were making a 7th Rocky movie where Rocky wasn't the lead, I was like, oh, weird, but we'll see how this goes. And I love it. Ryan Coogler directs this movie really well. There's a really good sort of style of bringing the Rocky world into the real one, in a way of merging the two in a really beautiful way. I love Sylvester Stallone's performance in this. This is like one of the best outings he gets to be as Rocky. They give him a lot to do by having him play a mentor, but also having his own fight with mortality, while that kind of parallels Adonis's fight with legacy. And Adonis is a so interesting character. I think Michael B. Jordan plays him super well. The idea of a famous fighter's son who wants to be a fighter but doesn't want to be associated necessarily, and trying to make his own name and not be tied to someone he never knew is really cool. I love a lot of the side characters. Bianca's really great. I think Tessa Thompson is so good in this movie and doesn't get enough credit. I also like the fight with Pretty Ricky Conlon at the end. I think it's really well directed and shot, and the way that you you sit there and you go, I don't know if he's going to win. I don't know if he's going to lose, but at the end of the day, I'm in this fight with him, for better or for worse. I think Creed's great and it's the one I go back to the most.
Yeah, this was my 82. This is also my favorite Rocky movie. Hollywood needs to pay attention. If you're going to reboot a franchise, this is how you do it. Koho's spot on. I mean, they take the Rocky world and make it a real world. This is the first Rocky movie that has actual boxing in it, like real boxing, where people, don't just use their heads as a punching bag. They actually like cover up and stuff. The first, like, not the fight in Mexico at the beginning, but the first like professional fight he has is shot so well with the cameras in the ring over the shoulder the whole time, doing like that one shot thing. That's my favorite fight in any Rocky movie. It's just so well done. And yeah, he's such a great character. He encapsulates that Rocky spirit, but in a totally different way. At the end when he's like, what do you have to prove? He's like, that I'm not a mistake. That's just such a great Rocky moment. That's what he's there for. He's not to win. He's not there to win. He's there to prove something for himself. And that's just what Rocky's all about. And yeah, this is a great movie.
Okay. Avengers Endgame, whatever. I'm fine. It's my fifth favorite one. I hate the criticisms on Infinity War that people get upset. Those deaths still happen because they're not the same characters once they return. Like, the characters had to deal with them. We may not realize that they were dead, but those characters had to, so it has emotional weight. I think this is just like insert cool moment here and insert cool moment here. It's cool. I enjoy it. It's still fun to watch because it caps off the entire thing, but it's literally just like a fan service, like cartwheel the entire time. Like, the whole team ups, you get a bunch of different moments. Just that's it, and that's fine. But overall, I think Infinity War is better. I think Thanos is actually really bad in this movie compared to when he was really great in Infinity War. He actually looks scary. This one, he just looks like a pussy that's about to get his ass beat, which he does pretty handily, like not even close. Yeah. And then you had to send Captain Marvel away for the entire movie because she comes back and cleans the fucking house and the game match is over. So, again, good movie. Tony's death, that stuff's really sad. It gets you, but I'll take Infinity War over it. I'll speak for the people that are not in their middle 20s or like something. This movie's good. This movie's fine. Like, right now, my 10-year-old would be like, hell yeah, the best list by far. It's fine. I just love that everything, like, that Ratatouille does something so nuanced and something so amazing, but they did these things early. When a clownfish swims across the entire ocean when it's normally stuck in its little crib. The rat just started cooking. So, cool. I mean, things happen beforehand. The score is great. Don't get me wrong. The score is good. Best Pixar movie, I think you guys are out of your flipping mind. Because this movie has a direction and it never veers off the direction. It knows exactly. There's not even any moments that you're like, is this going to work out? No, it's going to work out. Clear as day. No problems whatsoever. And then Creed. Creed's my favorite Rocky movie by far. Kirk hit it in the head. This is the first fight where, man, I really don't think Mickey's that great of a coach because never once did he say, hands up. Oh, come on. Are you alive? I don't know. My head hurts. Should. They just literally rewatching the series. I was like, man, hands up would change this fight completely. And that's what Creed does. I've already said it. Adonis is way more of a compelling character than Rocky Balboa. Rocky Balboa was the immigrant that moved up to make himself a chance and have that fighting shot, and he's great, and you root for him. He's the root, but Adonis gives you actually something to believe in, something to actually fight for. Actually, somebody that has to live up to a legacy, but also make his way in this world. And it's like it actually has like a relationship with him and Bianca that you wanted from Adrian and Rocky. Like Adrian and Rocky, they love each other, but you don't actually get that depth of the relationship. Besides, I don't really want to fight. Well, don't have to fight. Well, I'm gonna go fight. You're in a coma. That's it. Yeah. Creed is the best Rocky by far. Creed 1 and Creed 2 are the best two Rocky movies by far. Everybody else had to talk about everybody else's movie, but the other ones that you did not talk about, go ahead.
Yeah, I think Endgame is really well done. I think it's actually really good. It's one of my favorite MCU movies. I think that I agree the ending is very fan servicey, but I think the movie makes you earn it. I think it does let these characters deal with the consequences of the snap, and I really like that. And I also like the movie basically Back to the Future 2's back to the older MCU movies, and I think that's a lot of fun. I like Back to the Future 2, so I like Endgame basically. And then Creed, I enjoy. I feel like I need to give it another chance because I haven't seen it since theaters, so I probably need to do that.
What was that? Endgame? Endgame's cool. I like it. Fun movie. I think it's insane, the top 30, but Ko's a man-child and loves comic book movies, so I get it.
Yes, I do.
This isn't a negative, but this is one of the most jerk-off movies ever. It's not a negative, and not even a compliment. That's what it is. Like, it is all the things that you love of the franchise coming together in this final film. I agree with Cody. I don't like Thanos in this movie. I think the villain is not exactly. I think everyone just sees Thanos as Thanos, but it's not the same character as Infinity War. Infinity War was the Thanos movie, and he's so perfectly shown in that movie why the things he does these things and why he's a different person because of the Infinity Gauntlet. In this one, he's like pre-Infinity Gauntlet without having achieved anything, and he just doesn't have the same depth. I also hate Captain Marvel in this. I'm not trying to hate women or anything. Everyone knows this, but Deus Ex Machina didn't really appreciate that, which just comes out of the sky and easily destroys Thanos' ship. I think that's just stupid. Yeah, but some of it's fun. I enjoy parts of it. Yeah.
I got to talk about two of them. Ratatouille, I'm right there with you, Cody. It's a movie. It's inoffensive. I don't get the love for this. It's definitely the bottom half of Pixar for me. It's like you said, with my like the thing I love about Pixar is their world building. Like with Incredibles, Monsters Inc., Finding Dory, like this huge world, and this is it's rats in the kitchen. It doesn't do everything the great thing, and I won't lie. I mean, I don't even remember the score, so maybe that's great. I have to go back and listen to that. But yeah, this is not one that I go back to.
They literally about just left the call because you don't remember. Hey, when he stirs the soup, it like swells and it makes you. Oh, it comes alive. It brings the food to the table.
The visual representation of when he
you want to see.
So
you want to see a good person cook. You want to see a movie that's good about cooking. Go watch Chef.
I'm about to kill a man with this thumb.
That's the superior thing. There's a movie called Chef with Jon Favreau. Watch that movie. That movie slaps. Okay.
That's number 100.
Chef would be better if Dustin Hoffman was yelling at Remy. Let's be honest.
That's 100%. Cast Dustin Hoffman as the little angry guy. That's great.
That would actually be
okay, Boatman. Let's take a walk.
Okay. Cool boy. Remember when I had all that goodwill?
Yeah, you were winning.
Yeah, I'm about to
tank.
27 is good afternoon, good evening, and good night. It's the Truman Show.
That is, it's from way earlier for me.
Okay. I think this film is absolutely excellent. I think Jim Carrey is perfect in this movie. This movie is just an exploration of this world and this character and what it would be like if like a person was living in a TV show. Like this movie was so influential that there were people who actually like had disorders and they called it the Truman Show disorder, or Truman syndrome or something like that, where they thought they were in a TV show. Like that was kind of crazy. I think this movie is just awesome. I love Laura Linney as his wife. I think she's excellent in this film, kind of portraying this like fake loving wife, and I think she's perfect. Ed Harris as Kristoff is just incredible. The final confrontation.
Always Ed Harris. It's always Ed Harris. Go ahead.
Yeah, Ed Harris is always at the guy at the computer. That's just what he does. But he's good at it. Well, yeah, I think the way this movie like uses water as like symbolism, I think really works. I think there's a lot of really good comedy, but a lot of like existential like questions going on in this movie that I really
Yeah, so I have this at number 80. I love this movie. I've always been a big fan of Peter Weir and his directing. I really love the way the camera works as it would be in the reality of the show, where it's all hidden surveillance and all that sort of stuff, and you can see the different lenses and the cameras, and one camera is just like through the buttons of certain characters, and I think it all just is so. It feels like you're watching the show and you're just slowly seeing the show fall apart as Tripman discovers like what's going on. Laura Linney's fantastic. Ed Harris is fantastic. Jim Carrey gives my opinion his second best performance. I almost said best. I didn't want to. But yeah, just everything about this is so good. I really like the score. Also, Philip Glass has a really interesting score for this movie, and I just really like the execution of what it's trying to say, and I think it really works perfectly. And the screenplay is fantastic. And then Andrew Niccol had to go make The Host.
Okay, so Bowman thinks I'm about to swing the hammer. Okay, I was not a fan of this the first time I watched it. I wasn't. But this is one that I'm putting a bubble around it because I haven't seen it in a long time. So I don't want to judge it and think I hate the movie based on what I didn't like the first time, because I am grown up. I've matured probably since the last time I've seen it. So I'm going to give it a fresh watch. I don't know if I'm going to like it anymore, but I'm not going to hate you on it because I probably saw this 10 years ago at this point. So at that point, can't yell at you about it. Hopefully I'll watch it before maybe next week or before we're all done so I can yell at you then. But right now I'm going to give you a pass. Okay. Oh, also, big yes to Paul Oyama. You want to watch a cooking movie, watch Big Night. That movie slaps.
Big Night is fantastic.
It's great. All right, everybody else on The Truman Show.
I saw it when it came out at the theater. I guess I'm like you, Cody. If whatever there was to it, I must have missed. Because again, it was another movie. It was inoffensive. It was all right, but I had kind of just deleted, made some space in the old memory banks, and got rid of that one. But I don't know now going back to it, like in the reality show era,
right?
You know what I mean? Like where it's not weird to have cameras following you around 24 hours a day. If that would like make the take on this different. But yeah, again, I can't say it's terrible because it's been so long. And maybe there's something else. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I like this movie. It was on my top 100 at one point in time. It's my second favorite Jim Carrey performance behind Man on the Moon. But I think he gets a lot more of a more sort of subtle performance that he gets to do in this one. And I think he does it really well. I really like the idea of the movie. Of just this guy who never knew he was in a TV show, and it's just all about that. I love the line that he literally just, in case I don't see it, good afternoon, good evening, good night. I love that line so much I've adopted it into my sign-offs for my job. So yeah, I like this movie a lot. That scene's really great. Ed Harris is really good. Paul Giamatti is in this movie, and I forgot about that, and he's not bad. He's pretty solid in that tiny little piece. But yeah, no, it's good.
I have no memory of that.
He's in this. I totally forgot about.
He's in the movie.
You can't really call him solid. He doesn't have anything to do. Like,
you're right.
All right.
He's never bad.
Shush.
Okay, my 26 is okay. This is it got a little rocky with the Truman Show. Boom! Here we go. I think the audience is going to be on my side.
Oh, they will 100% be on your side, and I do not care. You're all fucking nuts.
It's a Wonderful Life 26. I'm sorry.
Yikes.
This movie. Oh.
Yikes.
Okay, Kirk.
Never gonna win your sucks. Never gonna win your sucks. Okay, what's next?
That's my top competition right there. So that's a wash. We'll call that a wash.
Ends up dying, so that's okay.
Well, I'm glad I don't get to have the entire internet hate me tonight. So that's great.
25. No Country for Old Men.
Yikes.
Sorry.
I am shocked. Oh wait, double yikes. Okay, fair.
Yeah.
And 24, I have Whiplash.
I have that lower in the same episode.
Okay.
Oh yeah, yikes! I have that tonight.
Yeah, me and Kurt. Yeah, we all have it tonight. We all have it tonight. He has it the highest.
You said lower, though.
Yes, I have it lower. Boatman has it the highest tonight.
Yeah.
Koho must have it like 27 or something.
Right.
Everybody talk about it, though. Go ahead.
Oh, we're talking about Whiplash now.
If you have it the highest, yes, we'll talk about it right now. But where does Kirk have it?
It is my 26, I believe.
So we will all talk about Whiplash right now.
Okay.
Yeah, 26.
Yeah. I think this is one of those movies about like passion and success versus like being an actual good person. Like I think you see that like kind of dividing Andrew and Dr. Mora, the drill sergeant like teacher played by J.K. Simmons, Terrence Fletcher. I think that dynamic is really much like just so incredible. I think the music in this is just fantastic. Just in general, it's really great to have all the drumming scenes. And as you see the way that Terrence toys with Andrew just to make him a little bit more miserable, but then you get him explaining his logic behind it in one of my favorite scenes in the movie. It's fantastic. And I love like the ending climax is basically the entire conflict is played out through music. The film is just incredible. J.K. Simmons is terrifying in this. Like he is a monster, and I think the moments when he's scariest are when he's not yelling. It's when he's being friendly and you know he can snap at any moment. That's when that's when I'm just tense and I'm like, what is happening? Cody, please don't hit me. But no, I think Whiplash is fantastic. Damien Chazelle's best movie.
This movie is such a visceral experience. The most like physically tense and intense movie I've ever watched. Wasn't a war movie. It wasn't a horror movie. It wasn't a boxing or football movie. It was a jazz movie. And it pisses me off so bad that this isn't the Damien Chazelle jazz movie that people talk about. How the hell is La La Land a thing when this movie exists? But this is so like just those rehearsal scenes, like Ko said, like him coming in, like he's so conniving, like you never know when he's gonna snap. Just everybody's on edge. You're on edge watching it. The practice scenes, that car crash is insane. And then I just watched it today. Before coming in the show, I didn't breathe the last 10 minutes of this movie, and I'm still kind of like anxious having watched it. Talk about J.K. Simmons as Fletcher. They say the best villains are the villains that believe they're actually doing the right thing. Fletcher takes it one step further. He's the villain who makes you believe that he's actually doing the right thing. Like Boatman said, like when he sits down and says, the two most harmful words in the English language are good job. He's not wrong. And then it works. He got Neiman to where he wanted to be, and he wouldn't have gotten there without it. And that end scene, just that little smile and that nod, you're like, oh, yes, he made it. But you're like, oh, that's so gross, because just think of what he's going to be after this. And it's just so morally ambiguous. And I just love watching this movie so much. It's such a gut-wrenching movie.
I remember when I first saw this movie, and it was just produced by Blumhouse. So I was like, that's weird. I thought Blumhouse made horror movies. And I went, oh, this kind of is a horror movie. My favorite scene in this movie is are you rushing or are you dragging? So you do know the difference. Terrence Fletcher is one of the best movie villains ever. Yep. J.K. Simmons is the best supporting actor performance of the decade. He's fantastic. I'm so glad he won. His character is brilliant. I don't like Miles Teller as an actor. This is one of the movies where he's at his best or his most tolerable for me. Melissa Benoist is in this movie for a couple scenes, and she's really good. This movie is really solid. I think this is the best written movie that Damien Chazelle's ever made. It is paced super well. I love all the interactions with all the characters. They kind of covered everything, but Whiplash is brilliant, and I adore this movie.
Okay. This community sucks. I'm just going to be honest with you. It sucks to a high level. The reason why it sucks is because when the community loves movies, they just beat the shit to the ground until there's nothing left of the movie. I like the movie a lot. I think this movie's great. By far the best Damien Chazelle movie with a bullet. Not even close. Little upset Just a heads up to everybody. J.K. Simmons has played this performance before. He was Schillinger in Oz from 97 to 2003.
That's a
He was
TV
the
show.
exact, doesn't matter. Played it on HBO, same exact character. He just became a music teacher.
I thought you were going to say the Farmers commercials.
Yeah, that's true. What does TV matter on that argument?
Nothing.
Thank you.
This is movies.
I know, but he's already played. That's the whole thing. They're saying this is such an amazing performance. He's already played this role. He's played it. He's done a well job. Just like Laurie Metcalf played Aunt Jackie in Roseanne, played it in Lady Bird. It's just
they were in one thing, and then they were in another thing. So obviously, it's the same role.
Carried over. They just carried over the acting. Hold on, you can raise your hand. You don't get to talk anymore. It's fine. Thank you. Welcome to your listeners. So overall, I think this movie's great. I think J.K. Simmons is amazing in this movie. I think Miles Teller is. The thing that takes me completely out of this movie, I am not a musician at all. Don't know anything about it. Don't care about it. And it's so heavy on that stuff throughout the movie. That's just not one of my top favorite movies. I won't ever click back into it because once I see it, I'm good with it. I don't need to go see him get angry again. I'll go watch the scene. I'll go watch him the end scene. I'll go watch him. Are you rushing? Are you dragging? I'll watch that scene. The overall movie, I don't. It's not my love of that movie for you guys. Sorry, Jake. What do you think about Whiplash?
This honestly would be like my 101 to 110. I love Whiplash. I think it's a fantastic movie. 2014, what a banger of a year. I'm still shocked to this day that The Imitation Game won a Best Adapted Screenplay for this. The fact that this was even considered adapted screenplay is kind of stupid. J.K. Simmons is incredible, fantastic. What hasn't been said, it's his second best performance of all time. We'll talk about the first one next time. And yeah, that's about it. I think it's a well-made film. Also, just brilliantly edited. It won the Oscar for editing, and I think that's one of the more underrated things about this movie is that it's just well edited.
Okay. Jake, what is your 27?
Are we still on me?
We've never started on, have we?
So 27. So what was Whiplash for Boatman? Was it 24?
No, I just had a bunch of yikes. So
yeah, okay, that's me.
Have you had a stroke? Were you here with me?
That's what it means. Yeah, I was a little confused. I'm not even here. My number 27. Let's do a second take.
Can you put
27
down so he knows what to
is
talk about?
my second favorite.
What is happening?
I knew what I was getting to it.
All that
my second favorite Michael Haneke film, Amour.
Oh, freaking kidding me. Go ahead, talk about it.
I'm gonna go grab.
This is what happens when we do this for 8 weeks. So this is about a couple, George and Anne. They're music teachers, and wife gets into a coma, and she starts to slowly die. This whole film's about death and kind of the acceptance of that, and at the tail end of one's life. And it's a very depressing type of movie. It can be at moments hard to watch, especially during the last 20 minutes of the movie. The husband has an incredible monologue about seeing her when she was young and how the relationship started and seeing the tail end of that. It's a very slow moving movie. It's not a type of movie that's got a lot of action in it. It's more just like the slow descent into the person and their death, and it's just kind of hard to see. I didn't spoil anything. What's everyone's going on about? That's not wrong. And yeah, I just think this is a fantastic movie. It's brilliantly well made. There's some great music in it, and I really love this movie. Everyone should see it. Cody, I think if there's any other Haneke movies, Funny Games and this.
Okay, fair. Just a heads up, if you're over on the future show, if I say, hey, read your 27, I'm pretty sure I know how my show works. Just go ahead. You don't have to question me on it. Even if I'm wrong, somebody will call me out, but not the person that should be reading 27. Haven't seen it. I'll give it a shot at some point. If I ever like go on a run and play you in Warzone, then I'll watch it. Until then, probably not. What does everybody else think about this?
I haven't seen it.
I have not seen it, but this is probably, like Jake said, this is probably the one Haneke I would start on. I haven't seen a lot of his stuff, so this is something I think is probably sounds like it's the most accessible.
Boatman, do you have anything?
I'm
Okay. Jake, 26. I'm pretty sure.
But I think this is going to be a yikes. I wouldn't be surprised. The Social Network.
Yikes!
That was my 25, so I'm assuming that's the X tire too.
Yikes!
Yeah.
Figure. My number 25 is, I think this is the X earlier, the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yeah, I had that one.
Yeah. Grand Budapest Hotel, my favorite Wes Anderson movie. I think this is a brilliant film. Going back to 2014. Everyone knows what this movie's about. Lobby boy and the head of the hotel, and they have to discover what's going on with the will and testament of a former lover and kind of the situations. It's a really fun adventure movie. I really like Wes Anderson's style. I think of them as kids movies for adults or adult movies for kids. It has he just knows like exactly how to present the movie, very storybook, and I just really kind of like that. Like he's in a league of his own. Like he just nobody has as a unique of a style as him, and the presentation of that I think perfectly captures the story of the movie, and I really like just how fun the film gets. I also just love how big this movie is as far as ensemble movies. There are so many actors. I'm not going to do the IMDb thing and list everyone. I also just want to point out Willem Dafoe is amazing in this movie. And I just also one of my favorite scores, really like Alexandre Desplat. I think it was a worthy win for original score. Incredibly fun. You can't watch this movie and not have a smile on your face. It's incredibly fun to watch. I'm sure Cody's going to disagree with me on that point, but it's just incredibly fun and you're never upset.
Well,
yeah, that was my 74. I think this movie is just so stylized. Like everything about it is just so. I love everything about the visuals, the pinks, the purples, the tans, and the way everything changes depending on what timeline you're in. It's just a lot of fun. And I think Ray Fiennes is just giving this amazing comedic performance, such a straight face but funny comedic performance. I don't know what they put on you down at the morgue. Your skin feels excellent, love. It's just so much fun in general. There's a lot of good comedy, and Tony Revolori is a lot of fun, and the entire cast is excellent.
So, Wes Anderson, probably top 3 favorite director of all time. No questions asked, with a bullet. Love it. That's utter bullshit. I wish he would stop making movies. I actually don't like many. The one that I do like is the Grand Budapest Hotel. I really enjoyed this movie. I think it works really well as a comedy. I like the whole design. Did it win production design?
Yes, it did.
Deserved it. Great. Like it didn't. It felt like a Wes Anderson movie, but then again, it didn't feel like a Wes Anderson movie, which is the reason why I kind of like it. I wouldn't put it top 100. I think that's a little crazy. But it was the one I walked down like, oh, man, if he could just make more movies that were actually good. That'd be great. So, yeah, I don't hate it. 25 is insane. Where'd you have it?
74.
Trusting that ranking a little bit better. Koho and Kirk, what do you guys think about this movie?
Haven't seen it yet, but based on my track record of Wes Anderson, we'll see how I like this one, apparently.
I actually had to go back and look at my list to make sure this was on it, because this is a movie that could have made my list. It's probably my top 125 somewhere floating in there. I'm not surprised to hear you say what you said about it, Cody, because this isn't my favorite Wes Anderson, but I think this story and this setting is the most fit for Wes Anderson's style. And just that world that's created in this movie is very much a Wes Anderson world, kind of prepackaged, and it just fits what he does so well. It's just the humor is great. It's just so deadpan funny. It's a very funny movie. Ray Fiennes is great. Everybody is so just a lot of great casting all around in this. So yeah, I think we give. I'm going to stop giving Jay crap because this is a really good pick.
25 though. Yeah. Okay. All right. 24.
My number 24. My number 24 is Hot Fuzz.
I think he has a delay, but that's fair. Go ahead.
I think my internet's a little choppy, so please.
We'll let you drop after this 24 pick and then bring you back. Okay, so let's go.
Yeah, that's cool. I think this is maybe my favorite comedy of all time. I absolutely love this movie. Everything about this movie is hilarious. It sets up so many different jokes that you wouldn't expect to come back, and then it comes back and you don't expect it, and when it happens, it all clicks in. I really love the relationship between Nicholas Angel and Danny Futterman. They both play off each other so well. I also just love the contrast between them. Nicholas Angel is precise. He's always about the work and the paperwork. And then Danny Futterman is the action movie fan who's trying to show him Bad Boys 2 and Point Break. And the fact that it calls back to certain scenes from movies into the Hot Fuzz itself is pretty funny and hilarious. It does a Michael Bay movie better than Michael Bay could ever do. And I just really love that setting of just everyone saying, oh, there's no crime here, there's no crime here. And Nicholas Angel's the only one who's like, there's a murder, there's murders going on. It's just really hilarious, and I just always go back to it. This is one of those movies where when I first saw it, I enjoyed it. A lot of the jokes went over my head, and then the more times I've seen it, the more jokes I've paid attention and noticed. And I think that's kind of what makes a great movie, is the more times you go back to it, the better it gets, and the more jokes you get from the movie. Also, just an amazing action movie. The last 30 minutes is glorious. It's so satisfying to see him get his revenge against all these people who have been putting him down the entire movie, and I just think it's so satisfying. And just, yeah, like I said, just one of the most funniest movies I've ever seen.
Did somebody else have Hot Fuzz? No one else had Hot Fuzz. Okay. I'm pretty sure if me and Boatman were both standing up when you said your favorite comedy, we would need a chair to sit back down because I was like, whoa, that's a take. That's a take. I just recently saw this movie. I like this movie a lot. It's my favorite so far. I still haven't watched the last one. It's on my list. But I thought it was great. I thought it was the most... Shaun of the Dead I really enjoyed, but this was the most creative, I think. Where it went, it had me oh, because it was kind of had great twists, but also the comedic elements hit a lot more for me than Shaun of the Dead. This one, I hope World's End is just as good. Yeah, great choice. 24, best comedy of all time. I need you to pump the brakes, or maybe actually watch more movies that make people laugh. That's kind of what I need you to do. Watch funny movies, and maybe this might not be your favorite of all time. Just saying. There's a guy named Jack Lemmon that I think you need to watch a little bit more. Okay. Everybody else on Hot Fuzz.
Go ahead, Bo. Here's.
Okay. I just find it weird that Jake's favorite comedy of all time is 24. I just think that's weird that, with the genre as broad as comedy, that only makes it up to 24 for your favorite all time. But I think this movie's a lot of fun. It's both a really good spoof of action movies while also being a legitimately great action movie. So fantastic pick. I just think it's weird if you're going to call something your favorite comedy and it only shows up as 24 is a little odd.
Hot Fuzz is my favorite of the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy. I think Shaun of the Dead is solid, but this is where Edgar Wright's a little bit more polished, and he gets to have a lot more fun as both a director, and he and Simon Pegg have a lot of fun as writers. They feel like they have a little bit more room to breathe and explore, and I think they utilize all of it. The action's great. I wish World's End held up as much as this one, but Hot Fuzz is so fun. It's a great time.
Yeah, we hit on this a little bit last week when I brought up Shaun of the Dead. That's still my favorite. This is my second favorite of the three. Again, I feel the opposite of Koho. I just feel that there was a little more meat to the script of Shaun of the Dead, but nothing bad about this. The only thing I've also had me Boatman said the characters in Shaun of the Dead felt like stock characters. I mean, this one kind of do too. It's like it's a parody movie. It's a well done parody movie, but still parody. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say anything terrible about it. It's just not my favorite of those three.
All right, Kirk, it's your 27, and I promise it is your 27.
Wow, I'm through him tonight. My number 27 is Reservoir Dogs.
Yikes!
Oh, okay.
Also, keep in mind on Jake's until he gets back.
Yep.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay. My number 26 is Whiplash. We did that. My number 25 is The Thing. The Thing is one of my favorite horror movies. I just love that setting of like the frozen tundra polar area as like the isolation and the place you can escape from. I love those movies where it's kind of like it lands in somebody's lap to save the world, and it's not because they're qualified or they were sent there, just you're here and you got to figure out how to do it. I love just the claustrophobia of this movie. I love the look of it, just that everything's like dirty and gross, and these guys are all like dirty and unwashed. Kurt Russell's great in this. Keith David, just a great cast. I love the special effects in this, how they are just so like unapologetically 80s and just unapologetically stop motion. And I love how they're exactly, Paul. I love how they're just crazy, just how nuts those effects are. Like they're not afraid to just go like completely like nothing you've ever seen, nothing that looks human or like even humanoid. Just these the most ridiculous out there effects. I love that so much. And just great ending with Kurt Russell and Keith David. I won't spoil it exactly, but just the way the whole story wraps up. But just that real claustrophobic feel to it, almost has like an Alien feel to it. I compare this a lot to Aliens. Those are two of my favorite, like sci-fi horror. Just really well done movie.
Again, I'm not a horror fan, so I've always avoided this one. Plus, I know how good it is, so I was not going to watch it for a Yearless Sucks episode. I will watch it outside of the realm of Yearless Sucks. It's like Paths to Glory for me. I don't want to go in thinking movie negatively before watching it, because I think I might actually enjoy it. So, yeah, haven't seen it yet. The Thing, everybody else?
I haven't seen it. Things, when people tell me older movies are great, I usually go in and I go, are they? And then they either go yes or they go no. And I'd rather this one just live as a thing that I might never watch but will respect.
Oh, go ahead, Jake.
Hey, you go.
Okay. I think this is one that I actually watched because of Nazario and Mike. Shout out to them. This movie is excellent. This is probably my favorite John Carpenter. I love the paranoia that this movie gets into. The way like everyone slowly starts turning on each other. I think it's excellent because like the biggest thing that's scary about the thing is that you can't trust anyone now, even if they're a good guy. And I think that's like excellent. Like this movie is both like very psychological and just an excellent creature feature. It's a lot of fun.
This may be my favorite modern classic horror movie. I like as far as 70s, 80s. So it's just everything everyone said, like the paranoia of just like who is the alien creature. I think all the special effects are incredible, fantastic. I always get terrified, like because it's real. You seeing it, and it's just like it feels real. It's insane how they did it all. I do love that ending, and the creature at the end with the dog coming out of its stomach is terrifying.
All right, you're 24, Kirk.
My number 24 is Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Okay. I love this movie so much. There's so much good acting in this movie. For everybody who loves Get Out and hasn't seen this, you need to watch this because I think this movie does what Get Out does. Different take on it, but I think it does it a whole lot better. Sidney Poitier gives one of my favorite performances by an actor all time. Just the way he deals with the stress of the day and what he's going through. He comes from all angles. He has his fiancée who's young and kind of naive and doesn't realize the severity the repercussions of what they're doing. You have her parents who are, trying hard not to be racist and really don't want to be, but still kind of have to deal with that. You have the other black people who are like telling him to, stay in your place. So just him like being polite and nice, but you see just right on the surface, he's boiling. And it's just such a great understated performance. It's so good. Katharine Hepburn is, again, just such a cool lady. She's so great in this. Like, don't talk, just drive, dear. She's so cool in this. She's so good. Spencer Tracy. And it's just such a great, it's almost like a play. It's just like very self-contained and just this very much story of, people having to, confront the reality of their ideals. And, is that really what they feel? Is that really what they think? And just so much good stuff in this movie. So like I said, at least two of my favorite acting performances between Portier and Hepburn. Just a really good movie.
So, I don't know how I feel about this right now. Just basically because you had The Graduate lower than this movie from the same year. That hurts a little bit. You're the only one with The Graduate, so I'll give you a pass. I think this is honestly of the best pictures. In the Heat of the Night 1. Am I correct, Boatman? You'll correct me.
Yeah.
And then and then The Graduate and this too were nominated as well. I like this movie more than I like In the Heat of the Night, just because I think this movie is just better in my eyes. I think it's better. But I actually really enjoy this movie. I like The Graduate more, but honestly, from that time period and the story that they decided to tell was kind of a bold story to tell. And I think it holds up really well. I hate myself for holding off on classics as long as I have. I really do. That's one of my biggest regrets in life right now because there's so much that I have to catch up on. But the tension in these scenes in this movie, you can feel them, and that's something that I think a lot of movies nowadays you don't get as much because they were. I think it just feels super real. It feels super real. This entire setup, there are actors, but this feels like an actual relationship. And I could never imagine that feeling in that time frame coming home in that scenario. Mm-hmm. That's what puts you in there, and that would make your stomach literally turn. So great choice. Great choice at 624. I have no problem. No one else had it. Everybody else, I guess, who's coming to dinner.
Never seen it, but I had no idea what this movie was when Kirk was like, "Oh, it's kind of like Get Out, but Get Out takes it in a totally different direction." I was like, "Oh, cool."
He went, and I was like, "No, he's."
I was like, "Oh, it's fair." I think I'll actually watch.
It's psychological like that one.
Kirk sold it really well, so I'll watch it.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it in a long time. This was one of those movies I watched when I was first getting into classic movies, and I remember really enjoying it when I saw it, but I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember it being really, really good.
How was Dr. Dolittle nominated? Okay, anyways.
Weird time.
Such a weird time. All those clowns.
Do you know how much drugs people had access to in the 60s, Cody?
That's fair. You're not
People
wrong.
love Rex Harris.
They were racist and high. Cool. All right, Koho, go ahead.
So we already talked about my 27, which is Whiplash. My 26, we talked about Steven Soderbergh tonight. We're going to go way different from where Schizopolis was. We're going to go to Logan Lucky. So Logan Lucky, I really like Soderbergh's heist movies. I do really love the Ocean's movies. It's just been a long time since I've seen them. I've seen this one a lot in the last several years. I think it takes that heist idea, sensibility, and does something totally different with it. We're going to put it in a totally different setting with a bunch of totally different characters that you would never expect with totally different motivations, and it pays off really well. I think it's super funny. Channing Tatum and Adam Driver are so good together. They play off each other really well. This is one of my more favorite Adam Driver performances, just with that understated sort of Southern charm that he brings. The character of Joe Bang is so funny with Daniel Craig. His Knives Out accent is very prototypical from here. He starts doing it here, and he does it really well. And the other Bang brothers are really fun. Riley Keough is solid as the sister in this movie too. I really find this movie really entertaining. Every time I go back to it, like the plot is simple enough that you follow through, and there's that twist at the end that kind of makes it a little bit that makes it a little bit. Oh yeah, this is not necessarily what you were expecting. Also, the soundtrack to this movie, fire. But Logan Lucky's a good time. But yeah, 26.
So yes, Logan Lucky was a movie I think I saw this year, last year, one of the two, for the first time. I really enjoyed it. I'm with you. Soderbergh's heist movies, mint. I think they're great. I just hate you as a person, and I mean this in the nicest way possible.
I know.
I hate that you just rewatch everything multiple times instead of just going to watch something new for the first time.
Sorry.
Be better. That's all I'm asking you. Because
I'm trying.
This movie is really good, but there are so many that you have like missed through the years. That have you ever seen Take Him and Pelham 1, 2, 3?
No, but I'm trying.
Okay. Those are like those movies that I think you need to enjoy. Like
I think I've seen this one a lot. I mean, I've seen it 3 times since 2017. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's fine. Again, that's 2 other times you could watch something else. But I do. I really enjoy the character work in this movie. I think enjoy the script. I enjoy heist. If it's a heist movie, you literally have me right away. It takes heist, gambling, or crime in any way, and you have me at your forefront. I am ready to watch that movie. And this movie, I'm upset that it took me so long to get to this movie because I think this movie is actually brilliant. Would it have made my top 100? No. But so good. Logan Lucky, everybody.
I like this one. I don't think it's Soderbergh's best heist movie, but I think it's fun. I think Driver is like just incredible in this movie. Well, I have part of my arm. I think there's like a lot of really good comedy in this one. I think where the movie kind of loses a little bit of its magic for me is the Hilary Swank arc.
Yeah.
That's really what brings the movie down. But everything else is a whole lot of fun.
I love heist. I love heist movies. I love Steven Soderbergh. I love the Ocean's trilogy. I love Logan Lucky. I love this movie. This is one of those films that I can just categorize as fun, entertaining, can enjoy on just purely entertainment value. I love every character in this movie. All their accents are funny. It's almost monotone. It's almost like just deadpan, but it sticks to that tone so perfectly throughout the entire movie that I really like. And Joe Bang also is just a really fun character. I love Daniel Craig in Knives Out. I think I just prefer him over this because this is like the first time he's just doing something completely different, just knowing him as James Bond. And I agree with the Hilary Swank arc. It's just a little wiser in the movie, but I think they were trying to set it up for a sequel that probably would not happen because this movie did not make enough money, unfortunately. And I just really like the play on the heist dynamic and the fact that there is a plan that they stick to, and you just wouldn't have expected it to be robbing from a motocross stadium. So I think that's pretty fun.
I really like this movie. I love just like the setting of that like southern kind of like backwood, world, and like taking that big heist with those characters is just a really good idea. Driver's great. Channing Tatum's really good in this. Daniel Craig is awesome. I love when he plays these kind of roles. But yeah, this movie's a lot of fun. I like it.
Michael said in the comments that I am in car. So rated. It's so good. Anyway, my 25 was already Yikes. It's The Social Network.
Yikes.
And my 24 is Inglourious Bastards.
Yikes.
Cool. I'm done for these.
All right, so we're actually flying this episode. Here we go. But we're gonna have a lot to talk about next 2 episodes. Here we go.
Long couple of weeks.
All right, take a walk.
My 23 is actually Yikes from earlier in this episode. It's Stand By Me.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is probably my favorite like kid adventure movie. In a sense of this is probably the least family friendly, but in a sense of you kind of have the group of kids going out on an adventure. It kind of feels like, the same type of group of kids like the Goonies or Hold and like that type of thing. And I think this one's just a lot of fun. I love the dynamic between these 4 kids. I think this movie really understands what it feels like to be a kid really in any time or age. I think this understands just the way kids think and the way kids talk about things, like just the conversation about like Goofy and Pluto and what is Goofy if Pluto's a dog. and the conversation about cherry pets. Like, I just love the little conversations. But the stories and everything, I think this movie's just very charming, but it has that Stephen King darkness contrasting with the Rob Reiner lightness. I think it's just a lot of fun. And yeah, I think all the performances are really good. Kiefer Sutherland is probably the best Stephen King movie bully. He's just terrifying in this. I like this movie a lot.
Yeah, this was my number 29. I'm a big Stephen King fan, and I think this movie conveys a lot of his themes and ideas better than any other his movie adaptations. It's weird to say that about something that's not a horror movie, but he said in the past that his a lot of his main focus of his writing is childhood and growing up and the differences between adults and children. And that's, you see that in all his work. And there's some element of Stand By Me in almost all of his novels, but that's what gets cut out when they make the movie. And, that's all this movie is. So I think it really gets his thoughts on life better than any other his movie adaptations. And just the idea of this movie, when you're going to have 4 kids on screen by themselves for almost the entirety of the movie, the movie can very easily collapse under the weight on that from a performance standpoint and also from a writing standpoint. But like Boatman said, this is so well done. They capture that specific age. Like, at one moment they're talking about cartoons, and then they start talking about, Net's shirt starting to fill out. So like that, they perfectly capture that age of, kind of getting out of childhood into, your older teenage years. And this is a movie, and talk about the performances, River Phoenix, he died. He had a pretty good career going. The rest of these guys never really, set the world on fire with their acting. So it's kind of lightning in the bottle. And you got to give Reiner credit for that. But this is this is something another reason I like this movie. I just recently introduced my daughter to it. We watch it together. And I think that's a really cool thing about it is if you watch this as a kid, like Boatman says, it's basically just wish fulfillment. You have, just basically kids going on an adventure. But if you watch it as an adult, you see it more as, through the adult eyes of Richard Dreyfuss's character. And, there's people you knew who were so important, kind of just faded in your memories. So it's a movie that grows up with you. I really like that about it.
I'm just going to say this before anything. Jerry O'Connell sucks. Kangaroo Jack sucks. Deal with it, Jake. Stop living in this world that you think it's good. Okay,
it's not good.
I haven't seen Stand By Me in a very long time. And I don't know how I feel about it as an adult, because I remember watching it probably 12, 13, and I don't think I've ever went back to it since. So it definitely deserves a rewatch to it. I liked it the first time, but I think I'm excited to see it as an adult and to take away and now have kids of my own. So, I'm excited for that view. I have no problems with it being there. I just need to rewatch it. Stand By Me for everybody else.
I've never seen it.
I like this movie a lot. I remember my mom making me see this movie way back when I was a teen. And I really like this movie a lot. This is just a really easygoing kind of movie to see. It takes a little has darker themes later on in the movie. I really just like the blueberry pie scene. I think that's really funny. And that story is really interesting. And I also just like the scene where they're on the train tracks and then the train starts coming by. I think that's really cool. And a lot of great moments, and you really get the chemistry between all 4 kids. And it all really works well. They're all perfectly cast. Jerry O'Connell, I stand for him. Anyone in Kangaroo Jack, just FYI.
Okay. Go ahead, Jake.
Number 23, movie I made Cody watch. And I'm very curious to hear what he has to say about it. It is the Chris Diamond classic, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Sorry, I mean Sergio Leone. This is one of the greatest westerns of all time. I really am a big fan of just this whole movie. I'm kind of not really big western type of fan. I've always wanted to get into the genre, and this is just the pinnacle, I feel, of just a type of setting and westerns. And I really like spaghetti westerns, and of the trilogy, I think this is the best one. I really just love that it just portrays each of the 3 characters with Angel Eyes, Tuco, and Blonde, and just all of them trying to get this gold. And it's a cross-country movie, the road trip. I really like the dynamic between Tuco and Blondie, and the Eli Wallach is just really funny and hilarious. It's fantastic. The scene in him in the bathtub, that I won't spoil it, is really funny later on in the movie, and I really just love the score is impeccable. R.I.P. Ennio Morricone, he's one of the greatest composers of all time. This is in my top 10 favorite scores ever, and I love the last 25 minutes of this movie when they're on the in the cemetery. It is just movie magic. It is just perfect. It feels like it goes on for a while, but the music and the editing and the pacing of all of it is so perfect that it just goes by. You don't even think about it, not in just the 25 minutes, but the entire movie. Because it's a long movie, to be honest, and it just doesn't feel like that, because every scene feels like it has a reason to exist. And I think this is a really fun Western that I enjoy.
Yeah, this is my 93. Kirk, do you have it higher? Okay. I don't know if you got it or not. I know Koho definitely doesn't have it. This is my 93. I think, one of my favorite sub-genres of film is group of characters who all want thing going across country to try to find thing. Like a Mad World, there are a couple others. I think Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I think all three of them are just perfect. Like the movie rests on them, and the movie rests on them, and I think that they're all doing a really good job on this. I think that which one's which, Twohig?
If you have to ask, you're at the bottom.
Fair.
We made it, Jake.
Fair. No, I think the music is fantastic, and like the way the shootout at the end built the tension is fantastic.
So, this is a new watch for me. I've never seen this movie before, and there are certain movies that you watch one time and literally can change your perspective on film. It can burst into a top 100. It can change it. This is definitely one of those films. I'll sit back and I'll wait right now. If you can name three better characters in a movie right now than Eastwood, Wallach, and Lee Van Cleef. Those three alone in this movie, I thought, okay, I think a sweet spot in the movie is an hour 30 to 2 hours. That's a sweet spot. That's a film that I can enjoy. That's a get in, get out, love it. When I saw the runtime, I was a little hesitant. And it did drag at certain parts for me, just certain parts. So it's not 100%. But overall, these characters and the work and that entire thing, the music is one, the score is incredible. I don't know if there's a better movie score out there right now, in my eyes, just because how this score. You want to talk about a score in a movie?
Sorry.
Okay. If you want to talk about a score that is a character, it is literally this movie for me. And when Lee Van Cleef says the thing, well, I always get a job done. I always finish my jobs, and he's just fucking evil. You can see it on his face throughout the entire movie, but that's not even my favorite parts. My favorite parts is when Blondie and freaking Tuco. So when you hear that gun go the first time and he goes, oh, it's just 100 miles in the blistering sun. Pale Skin doesn't really like it, and he puts up a pink umbrella just over his head and just starts riding and just lets him walk because that's what he did to him. It is a perfect revenge movie, and that last 25 minutes may be one of my favorite in movie history. I can't wait to go back and watch this movie again. I think this movie is incredible. Thank you, Boatman. Thank you, Jake, for both having your list to make me watch it. This movie is... I'm with Jake. I've always wanted to watch Westerns, but I never knew where to start or what to go with that's not 3 and 4 hours long. Well done. Well done. Everybody else on The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
I haven't seen it, but I want to.
It's on my
I really like it. Those three characters, they make such a great triangle. Van Cleef and Eli Wallach are such like two like very different villains, and like Boatman was saying, how everybody wants the same thing, is going around different ways to get it. I love the world this takes place in. I mean, it's very grounded and realistic, but still it has like just the way the way it's shot. It's almost like this like fantasy Western world almost. It's a spaghetti Western aesthetic, I guess. But I just love the way it looks, the sound, the music, everything comes together so great on this. I haven't seen that much. If on rewatches is something could creep into my top 100, just not quite there yet.
Just real quick. No, Michael, I haven't seen the first two. I was told that I could see the standalone kind of thing. I can watch this one without the other two, but I am super excited to go back.
Watch the original.
What do you mean?
The original is Akira, right?
Yojimbo.
Yojimbo.
Yeah.
I'm really curious. I'm really curious to go back and check it all out. I think that this is like a very interesting thing, and I'm excited to watch the other two. So yeah, great. A movie that has changed my opinion from a top 100. Thank you both. Okay, Kirk, can you do that with 23?
Probably not. But my number 23. When you grow up in Pittsburgh, when you grow up in like the southwestern Pennsylvania region, there are a couple of Hollywood names that you feel a connection to. Michael Keaton, Jeff Goldblum, Jimmy Stewart. But I think the most Pittsburgh filmmaker, and why I have a personal connection to this movie, is George A. Romero. And my number 23 is finally my favorite zombie movie, the original Night of the Living Dead, 1968. This is it has such a great like independent horror aesthetic. It's really in that original, just in that time frame movies, the way this was made, and just knowing that it's it's just a lot of like spit and duct tape. Like this is just put together it's a real labor of love by people who really wanted to just make this movie, and it's so small, it became this huge thing. They created a new mythos, new kind of monster that we still know today. And I just love the way this movie feels. I love the sense of dread and tension and trepidation. You start out there in the house. There's one or two zombies. By the end of the movie, they're just overwhelmed, and that's coming the whole time, and you're just waiting for it. And that goes over the rest of the series. By Land of the Dead, it's the entire world. But I just love that like creeping inevitability of the zombies. The performances, again, they're rough, they're unpolished. It's like I said, it's very independent feel to it. But it's just great. The black and white cinematography I really enjoy. It's really good. And like I said, it's my favorite zombie movie. I love zombie movies. This is the first of this kind. It's the original, and I still think it's the best.
Have not seen it. I have not seen it. Again, I'll pussy scared. Don't like horror movies normally, but I think I would respect these movies. So. Maybe I'll make a day of it, watch trilogies, watch the series of them. Everybody else on Night of the Living Dead?
My dad and I don't see eye to eye on a lot of movies. But the area... Sorry, what?
You've seen this?
Yes. My dad and I don't see eye to eye on a lot of movies. The zombie movies is where we come together. We can sit down, sit on the couch, and watch a movie. And my dad showed me this one first. I like it. I was really bored by it as a kid. I should probably do a revisit as an adult, but I always have liked Dawn of the Dead more. Both just like the original one with them all. I think that's my favorite zombie movie until I saw Zombieland. But yeah, I always like Dawn more than Night.
I haven't seen it. This is just one of those films that's kind of ingrained in pop culture where everyone knows a lot about it, and it's one of like the first one to really start the whole idea of the zombie genre. And I appreciate that. It's just one of those films that I know most things about it without having seen it, just because of pop culture and all that sort of stuff. I would like to. I think it's in public domain, so I should be able to find a copy of it easily. But yeah, just a film that I just haven't been around to.
Okay. I just want to say, I think it's a little weird, like, that, like, not weird, but, like, you've got, like, all Pittsburgh and all these major cities, like, we have this person, we have this person. If I had any Iowa movies on my list, I'd have to go through the filmographies of Ashton Kutcher or Tom Arnold. I'm not doing that. But I think this movie's good. I respect. It's one of those ones I respect more than I actually like. It just didn't quite entertain me. I get why it's influential. I get why it's good. I didn't think it really worked for me, but I get it.
Okay. Koho, 23.
We're gonna hit my last pre-2000s movie for a minute, but I don't think Screen Junkies for much. I think I'm for this, The Big Sick. The Big Sick was a movie that I did not see coming in 2017. I did not expect to love this much in 2017, and I've seen it many times since. I really love Ray Romano in this movie. I don't think he gets enough credit or love. I think one of my favorite scenes in this movie is when he's laying on the floor of Kumail's room and just telling him how he fucked up. I think that's like a great performance moment. And he's like, I fucked up. Kumail's like, I don't really want to hear it. Those two have such a great dynamic. Everyone knows the scene in the cafeteria where he's like, so 9/11. I've always just wanted to have a conversation with someone about it. Is really good. I think Kumail is fantastic. Everyone's like, oh, he just plays himself. He has a really hard task of not just playing himself, but having to play a very fictionalized version of himself in those moments and have to tap back into that time in his life that was like, I think 10 years ago, and like actually delve back into what that was like and dramatize it. Bo Burnham's in this movie for a little bit, and he's really funny. I think he's really good in his minor part. Holly Hunter's the standout. She's the best performance in this movie, hands down. She's fantastic. Just when she's at the bar during Kumail's set, and he's just like, go back to your country, and she's like, fuck you, and that fight's so good. She's fantastic. Zoe Kazan, this is the best Zoe Kazan's ever been in a movie, really. I think she's really sweet and genuine, especially in that first act. I love this movie, and honestly, if I could pick any movie to win Best Original Screenplay from that year, I would pick The Big Sick. But it's fantastic.
Anybody else have Big Sick? No. Okay.
No.
Big Sick was a movie I originally watched this year, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I think this movie's great. Top 100, I maybe not, but maybe with more watches, I could definitely see it. Holly Hunter is the standout. I also think Ray Romano is insane in this movie. But like the classic, like I've always wanted to ask somebody about 9/11. We lost a lot of good men. He just responds like, what? No, it's awful. It's terrible. That comedic dynamic and like the struggling like comedic, like comic. That is a real nice thing in this movie that you get to see because a lot of people you don't get to see like the bombing stand up and not being able to work and one of his biggest nights and he completely falls apart. Like that's something you get to see that's honest and real. And I think this just tells an important story too, because like he puts in so much time and so much work and so much stuff beyond like falling in love with the character. And she wakes up and goes, "That was great, but I wasn't there. We weren't this when I went to sleep. We were not on good terms, and you're gonna still have to earn it." It's just a very sweet and real movie in this time frame. So I absolutely love it. What does everybody think about Big Sick?
I saw this first time. I saw this first time this year. I think this movie's fantastic. I was like really hesitant to get into it. That's why I waited as long as I did to watch it, just because everyone was hyping this movie up, and I wanted to take my time. When I got into it, I just fell in love with the characters. Kumail and Emily are just so perfect with their chemistry, and I really like. You just don't expect it like halfway, or you're not even halfway, like going into the second act, like that turn to happen. And it's a romance movie where most of it's not done together. I just think that's really interesting. I've said I've always liked meta movies like this, where there's a meta narrative to it, and Kumail's playing himself, and he's playing a heightened version of himself. He wrote the movie with his wife, and I think you could even just see that as like a giant ego boost for them. But I think the story that they're telling is just so fascinating and interesting. Holly Hunter should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actress. That is a travesty. She is great in this movie. Ray Romano is great. Cody, is Ray Romano your like god? Like he's your idol just because of Welcome to Mooseport as well?
That's close. That was close. I was like, wait a minute.
That
makes sense, yes.
You've got Soderbergh and you've got Ray Romano and Hackman. But I think this is a really sweet, charming movie, and that ending is just really, really good.
I happened to have rewatched this just this past week. I showed it to Kathy. She had not seen it before, so her and I watched it together. Yeah, I love just like the different comedic minds that are coming together. Camille's so goodness, Ray Romano, and you can see them playing off each other. I love movies where there's different generations, different people, different places, and you can relate to everybody. And I think you can with that movie, with Camille's family, where you understand where they're coming from, what they want from him, what they expect from him, what he wants, her parents. I love those when movies present these parents as like just they're kind of just lame parents, but you can see that like depth to them. So that's really good. And like Jake was saying, I like how it's just a rom-com for the first act, and then something happens and it becomes a completely different movie, and it's still really good.
You were really good in this movie, Kirk Kowalkowski.
Shut up.
I just want to take credit because I'm pretty sure I am the first person to ever make a Kirk Ray Romano joke.
Can I tell you something? You're not, so shut up.
First person in the community.
Shut up.
Anyway, when I first saw this movie, I thought it was really overrated. I did not enjoy it. Well, I shouldn't say I didn't enjoy it. I really liked the stuff with the parents. I didn't like anything else. I rewatched it, and I think that movie, I don't know what I didn't see in that movie the first time. I think Camille and Zoe are super charming together, but Holly Hunter is incredible in this movie. She is like insanely good in this film. And so is Ray Romano. I think Ray Romano has more of like the thankless job because he doesn't like get to have like any giant flashy scenes. But I think he's really, really good because I think if he would have not played it realistically, everyone would have been like, Ray Romano ruins this movie, but he doesn't. He's really good.
Okay. Bowman, 22.
Okay. My 22, we're going back to the Rob Reiner well. It's Princess Bride. Did anyone else lower?
I had this at 79.
Okay. Yeah, so Princess Bride, this is just one of the most quotable movies ever. I love the blend of genres. Like, it's fantasy, it's comedy, it's, action, it's romance, it's so many different genres. It's so, like, all the side characters are so fun. The world is just populated. I think just one of my favorite movie scenes ever is the battle of wits between Vizzini and Wesley. I think the scene with the two wine glasses is just incredible. I love that scene so much. You clearly have a dizzying intellect. I'm just getting started. That's a Warzone meeting to a T. I think there's just this movie just has such delightfully campy, quirky tone. Everything about this movie is just so much fun. There's a reason we did a watch long of it. I think it's impossible to watch this movie without having a smile on your face.
Yeah, so Princess Bride is so Princess Bride is really good. It's a movie that I haven't seen a lot as much as other people, but every time I watch it, I'm like, why the hell haven't I seen this more? It's a movie that really has something for everyone. Every character is really smart, really witty in terms of what they have to say. I absolutely love Mandy Patinkin in this movie. He's always going to be my favorite performance as Inigo Montoya. I love him. Just the way that he's so charming in every scene and just captures your attention and demands that you listen to him. And he's great. This is the best Carrie Elwes has ever been in a movie. That and Robin and Men in Tights, they go back and forth for me, but I take Princess Bride mostly every time. He's a really funny actor. This is maybe my favorite Robin Wright movie. It's just this movie fires on all cylinders. I love Wallace Shawn. Like Bowman covered it all. There's not a lot that I can say about this movie that hasn't been said. It's pretty perfect.
One of the best parts of this movie is Andre the Giant. I will stand by that. When he's like, what? He's holding the rock. He's like, can't we handle this like men? Sure. I was like, because he's just gonna chuck the rock in his head and kill him. I think you're right. This is the most quotable movie. Like, it has such great things. Like, Billy Crystal's in it. Like, overall, the entire character work in this entire movie is incredible. It's short. It flies by. It is in out. Yeah, it is probably my. not my favorite comedy, but it's up there for sure. But it also crosses so many different genres. So, yeah, well done with The Princess Bride. I've already claimed how much I love this movie on the watch along. How does everybody else think about Princess Bride? Because 2 people didn't have it. That's pretty interesting. You just hate fun?
Yeah, Jake.
Okay. So everyone knows I hate movies.
Facts.
I only have seen this film once, and that was last year for Full Metal, round 3. This is a similar case with Night of the Living Dead. I knew so much about this movie without having seen it because of pop culture, and it's ingrained in that sort of mentality, and that is fair. I think it's a great movie. I think it's great. I just have only seen it once. Mandy Patinkin is great. I will always love him in Adventures of Elmo in Grouchland, and I think that this movie is really fun and quotable and has good stuff. I've only seen it once, so it's really hard to just talk as much as you guys have.
Or it's still Princess Bride?
I've seen that movie thousands of times, but Princess Bride I've only seen once, and I would like to get back into it. It's just that,
yeah, for me, I mean, I was a kid when this movie came out. It's always kind of been there. It was huge when it came out. It's still huge. It's just weird. I like this movie. You just have kind of like a weird relationship with it. It's almost like, I don't know. I can't think of a way to say it. It's almost like it transcends movies because it's so ingrained in culture, and not like in a bad way, not like in like an Austin Powers way where I'm sick of it and just fed up with it. Like in a good way, like it's there and I enjoy it. But it's just not like somewhere I'm like, oh, I really love this movie. It's like, oh, it's just kind of something that's there. So it's not something I consider when I'm talking about my favorite movies. But it's great. There's nothing bad you can say about it. Andre is awesome in this. Every character is so good. And like Boatman said, there's so many different things. It's like a three-ring circus. Something for everybody.
Don't criticize Austin Powers like that.
Go ahead, Jake.
Can I have a double film, I think you know what it is. Can I wait for my 21?
Save it for the end.
Okay. That's 20, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Kirk, what's your tweet?
What was that reaction?
No, you've been doing this the whole list. I was keeping this to myself. When people make a top whatever list of movies, what I hate is when they're like, well, the Star Wars trilogy is my number 75. All 3 was like, no, it doesn't count. You're doing the thing I hate that's almost as bad, where you don't split them up. You just you basically take them all as one movie. And spoiler alert. You take them all as one movie, and
on your phone, you know what the hell's going on.
I'm sorry, something's. I'll tell you after the show.
Sorry, I got that off my chest. It's been bugging me since the beginning. But my number 22 is Casablanca. This is one of those movies where everybody's like, oh, it's the greatest movie of all time, and everybody's like, yeah. But this really is one of the greatest movies of all time. The first 10 minutes of this movie is some of the best world building that a movie's ever done. In this first 10 movies, you get all the exposition. It sets up the world of the rest of the movie so well. Tells you exactly what to expect with, just the crime and like the expatriates trying to get out. And it's such an awesome world. It's such just like a little like I don't know how to explain it, but just like that kind of like crime noir. But like in that it's a war movie too. It's just a lot of different things going on. Bogart's great in this. Rick Blaine is such a good character. Such a great arc where he starts. I stick my neck out for nobody, and he goes to sacrificing everything he wants in life to help other people. And the new Claude Rains again. I said Claude Rains movie tonight. He's really good as the inspector, just that kind of like morally ambiguous guy who's out for himself and just represents kind of like again the world this movie takes place in. The relationship and the dynamic between the two of them is so good, and it's not what you usually expect from a romance movie where it's just kind of like, oh, they're going to get together and then again. I don't want to spoil another movie for anybody, but we'll talk about the ending. But it's just really good.
Does anybody else have Casablanca? Are we all safe? Is this a safe space? Can we all have a conversation? Let's have a conversation.
I've never seen it.
Never seen it. This is one of those lies of the film community when you enter and you just want to become friends with everybody and you get on a show and somebody brings up Casablanca instead of looking like a jackass. You're like, yeah, sure, I've seen it. And you've rode that wave for 3 years now. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I'm apologizing for my actions. It is on my list, but I couldn't watch it for the top 100 at this point because I didn't know how I'd feel about it.
I think this is a Cody movie. I think you would love it.
Okay, so yeah, I will check this out. I will watch this. Again, if you're new in the community, if you're here, don't lie about the movies you haven't seen. It's okay. We're all safe space. We'll look at you a little weird, but go watch them because movies are better instead of lying like Koho. Anyways, everybody else on Casablanca.
I think this is a great movie. I like a lot about this movie. It's one of the few classic movies that I really appreciate on like a modern sincerity. Like it ages perfectly. It ages like wine. It gets better with age, and I think it just perfectly. I really like the romance between Ilsa and Rick. I think it's one of the best relationships on film. I really like the filmmaking and just the way that Michael Curtiz is able to move the camera, and it just feels like it just doesn't feel like from the time period. And a lot of films from the time period haven't aged well, and this is one of those that is like the golden standpoints of great classic films. I think this movie is fantastic. And I was going to also mention the opening. I just love how it just sets up the world and what's going on. It makes it easy for people to follow the story.
This is one that I haven't seen in a while, like not since I was like first getting into like classics. So I probably need to revisit it, but I remember enjoying it, but I was probably a little too young to fully appreciate it. I was like 15, 16. I want to like come back to it and like 4 or 5 years later and see how I feel about it now.
I didn't really latch on to it until like my second or third watch. Like I really got it. So yeah, definitely give it another try.
Okay, Koho, 22, if you could still be
I'm here. Don't worry about it. All right. My 22.
You sure?
I am here. My 22 is classic film that I'm pretty excited about talking about. Is Singing in the Rain. I'm really mad y'all don't have it. I'm really mad.
No one else has Singing in the Rain?
No, they're all uncultured.
This is going to be a tough...
You know why we don't.
This is going to be a tough who wins this week kind of thing. Go ahead.
So Singing in the Rain is a movie that I grew up on. I watched it a lot with my mom. It's like one of my mom's favorite movies. She grew up watching it with like her with her mom, and so there was like a big important point for my mom to show it to me. The Good Morning song is one we sing all the time around our house. This was a show that we almost did my senior year of high school, where they thought about doing that for our senior year. It's one of my favorites amongst me and my friends. It's a movie we'll watch all the time. Gene Kelly is great. He directs this and stars in this really well. I love Donald O'Connor. He's phenomenal. He's so charming and he is so funny. I love Debbie Reynolds in this too. Like this entire cast is great. All the songs are great. All the music's great. Yeah, honestly, easily top 20. It's one that honestly is only a little bit lower just because I've seen it so many times as a kid that it was like I got a little tired of it at one point. It slowly crept back up my list now that I'm like a huge like film fan. But yeah, this movie's fantastic. The only sequence in this movie that I'm not 100% on is the dancing sequence, like the tap dancing sequence. It goes on a little long, but it's still a really great sequence. Gene Kelly's great in it. But yeah, it's a great movie. I love it to death.
It's my 22, but you know what? My nitpicking, they tap dance too much.
That's
Singing in the Rain. What the hell
long.
do you expect? Well, guess what? La La Land was way too long. Okay, anyways, probably, yeah. Favorite musical of all time, it's Singing in the Rain. In the traditional sense of musicals, yeah. I think this movie is perfect. Make them laugh. The Singing in the Rain sequence. La La Land wishes it was this film.
La La Land wishes a lot of films.
Kirk wins the episode.
I can't even dispute that. That's pretty good.
But Singing in the Rain is a special one because I think a lot of people get to it now and think like when they think of musicals, it doesn't have the catchiest songs. It doesn't like transition from song to song. There are musicals that do better than that. But I think Singing in the Rain is just a beautiful film. I love everything about it. I love the characters. Singing in the Rain, the title song is literally one of the top 10 movie scenes of all time in my books. I think it's brilliant for the time it came out and how good it looks. Yeah, Singing in the Rain, well done, Koho. I can't say a negative word about Singing in the Rain. If the tap dancing lasts just enough. Everybody else?
That's fair. It's a personal little nitpick. It's just a little
everybody else on Singing in the Rain because no one else had it. So.
I haven't seen it. I would really like to. Cody, I honestly, and I'm saying this 100% sincerity, I would like you to make a watch list for me of films that I would like to see. And this is, I would think, is one of them. I just would like to get into it. I just haven't.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah, I think Donald O'Connor and Gene Kelly are fantastic. Donald O'Connor is amazing. I think my favorite number in this movie is Make 'em Laugh. Make 'em laugh. It's just so much fun. The thing that brings the movie down is the Broadway melody sequence for me. That whole, like what Red Shaw said, that's the thing that I think it goes on really long. I don't quite like it as much. It's a little too hyper stylized in comparison to the rest of the film, but I think it's really good.
This is one I need to go back and revisit this because I haven't seen it in a long time and it never really connected with me. There's other musicals I like better, but it's just, I think there's stuff from that era that I like better. But this is, again, maybe if I rewatch it, I'll like it because everybody seems to like this one. So maybe
I think if I'm being 100% with everybody, this is nostalgia too. Like, this is the first musical I remember seeing with my grandparents. We watched it, so it carries with me. If I looked at it like West Side Story, I think is a better musical, if I'm being 100%. But there's nothing to take away that. This is why I want to punch you. I just want to punch you in the face. But anyways, Boatman.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, why you don't make giant reactions?
This is the show. Welcome to the show, asshole. This is my job. Your job's to sit there and enjoy the 2 hour talk time. I grant you. I grant you. Go to your next one.
Now I know how everyone felt when I had my Black Panther meltdown last week.
My 21, I'm done for the night. It's The Godfather.
Yeah, yikes.
Yeah, enjoy the 2 hours I gave.
Kirk? You like this movie?
Wait a minute. Godfather's on the top 100? I thought these graphics were just funny.
It ain't bad.
Kirk, what's your 21?
Wait,
we're not doing his 22 and 21?
You're doing combined. I'm leaving you for the very, very end. Go ahead.
Okay. My 21 is another classic. It is Seven Samurai. This is a... this is a great movie. It's 3.5 hours long, and it never feels that long because it's basically broken down into 3 acts. Where they kind of have their own beginning, middle, and end. The first act is the recruiting of the samurai and getting to know all the characters. The second act, third is the farmers being trained and the samurai and the people, the peasants, becoming like a cohesive unit. And then the third is the battle, which is one of the greatest action movies, one of the greatest war movies of all time. The characters in this are so great. Kurosawa wrote very detailed dossiers for all the samurai stuff. It never makes it on screen, just so the actors knew who their characters were. He wrote family trees for the villagers. Just so the extras would know how they were related and what their relationships were with the other extras. That's the level of detail he put in this movie, and it shows. All the characters in this are so real and vibrant and alive. The way it's shot, it's all a lot of on location. Buildings were built and burned down and built again to get the right angles. He didn't want to do anything in the studio. And just such a great movie. It's about you start out. And you have these peasant farmers who are on their knees crying, basically waiting to die because they've always been victims. They've been victims their whole lives. They do nothing else. And then by the end of the movie, they are standing up for themselves and defending themselves. They are, they're taking control of their lives. It's really like a beautiful, inspirational story if you look at that. And like I said, the samurai are such like unique individual characters, and this is a story. You got Magnificent Seven from this, and just that idea of the people coming in, the warriors coming in and train, not being the ones necessarily to protect everybody, but teaching them to protect themselves. It's everything from Magnificent Seven to Three Amigos to Bug's Life. The story has been done over and over, and it begins here. This is the best, obviously the best version of it.
So Kirk, not to get too personal, but how old are your kids?
15 and 11.
Okay, fair. So I have 2 and a 4-year-old at this point. So trying to find time to watch a 3-hour, almost 3-hour and 30-minute movie without Elsa coming on or my kid telling me, look at the booger that I found, it's really tough. So this is on my list. There's just not a point in time that I can actually sit down and pay full attention for 3.5 hours without some distraction.
I got you. But speaking of our kids and Seven Samurai, my son, my 11-year-old, has Seven Samurai rated at 4.5 stars on his letterbox. So that's one of my proudest parody moments.
Yeah, he probably also is Lion King at 1.5 stars. So I don't know how I trust that yet. Okay, everybody else on Seven Samurai. I've seen Magnificent Seven. I love it, so I think I will love this movie too. So,
Haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it. Would like to. It's in the top 10 films that I really need to see.
So I think it's on HBO Max, right?
It is. It is. It's on my save.
Australia doesn't have HBO.
I don't want this movie to watch in halves. Like there are 3-hour movies. Like I hate when I have to break movies up.
I'm serious. If you watch this episodically, it'll work perfect. If you watch front, like I said, I'll tell you where to break it up, where you can watch it in 3 pieces.
Yeah, if you would do that, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Send me that too. That would actually be.
I will. Shush your face. You're in trouble. You're in timeout. Let's go sit in the corner for your attitude. 21 Koho.
All right, my 21 is well, look. Kirk said, when you live in Pittsburgh, you gotta have such idols as like Romero, right? Well, when you live in Minnesota, you got so many, idols like Judy Garland and Uncle Sal down the street. But what we really have is the Coen brothers, and Fargo is the quintessential Minnesota movie. It's my 21. I don't have this higher. Wait,
I have that lower.
Okay, you both have it lower.
Sorry, I meant lower. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no. This is a movie that I don't have higher because of how realistic and close to home it is. I know every single person in this movie. I have met these people before. I've been to the cities that this movie takes place in before. Like, Brainerd is like 2 hours away from me. Fargo's an hour south of me. Like, I've been here. I've been to every single location. And, like, it's not that far-fetched to believe that this movie actually happened. Because it's a jungle in the snowy tundra of Minnesota. Shit happens. This movie's hilarious. Frances McDormand's great. It's a really great dark comedy. William H. Macy is really solid. I really love Steve Buscemi. Personally, I think William H. Macy got category frauded into supporting. It should have been him in lead, and Buscemi should have got put in supporting, and all 3 of them get nominated. This movie's so great. The Coen brothers are so on point with the script. And every single time people talk and the Minnesota accent comes out, I'm reminded of how fucking stupid the state I live in is. It's a great time. Fargo's brilliant. Oh, sure, you betcha!
Okay, you two had it lower. Go ahead.
I mean, what do you have it?
I had it 30 or 40.
I had it at 75. So
Okay.
All right.
This movie has that like Midwest tone that like works really well. I like a lot about that. I love Steve Buscemi and Peter Stormare as the villains in this movie. I love the way that Stormare is just clearly fed up with Buscemi's bullshit. Let's face it, Buscemi, Stormare. Let's be 100% honest here. But no, I like Fargo a whole lot. I think Marge is just one of the best like film protagonists ever. Like just how like quirky and awkward, but she's legitimately a good cop. Like she's legitimately a good cop. And I think what Coen brothers do really well is simple plan going wrong type stories, and I think this one is one of their best.
I really like the mundanity of this movie. Sorry, this is my 74. The biggest thing I really like is the mundanity and just the dialogue and how everyone just talks about just like the most smallest shit. Like it feels real. I really like when Steve Buscemi's trying to talk to Stormman and have a conversation. He's like, "Oh, you want silent treatment? Okay, fine." Like when they're driving, and it's just really just fun. I mean, Boatman said it's just about like the Coens just know how to tell like stories that go wrong or like schemes that go wrong, and This is, yeah, I think a brilliant movie. Marge Gunnison's one of the greatest film characters. She's like the shining star of this movie. She's like the only good character in a sense that you really follow. I really like Jerry Lundegaard in the movie. William H. Macy is fantastic, and I just love how kind of pathetic his character gets throughout the movie, and he just can't stand up for himself. It's just really, it's tragic but also funny. And yeah, I just think this is a really, really great movie. I'd like to go back to.
I forgot to mention, fun fact, my neighbor that lives on this side of my house, his name is Jerry Lundegaard, and that is not bullshit.
Okay. This movie, do I live in Minnesota? No, but I live in the Midwest, and this is the closest thing you can get when you. I've talked to this woman at a gas station before. She cussed me out for having a cell phone, like that type. Like living up north, just you betcha, just angry people. That whole Minnesota thing is really great. I also love just the character work in this. I'm not a Coen Brothers fan by any means. I probably like 4 or 5 at max of theirs, but this one's great. This one is I didn't know much about it going into it, and I'm kind of glad for that because the twists, the turns, and stuff in this movie are amazing. It's William H. Macy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he plays Jerry.
Yeah. Phenomenal in this movie, just like the twist, like thinks he's gonna get away with it, and then they keep like adding on to it. He's like, whoa, and he can't. He doesn't. He has no backbone. He's Boatman. So I absolutely think this is a great choice of 21. Good job, Kirk Fargo.
This is a movie that grows on me more every time I watch it. First time I saw it when it came out, I really wasn't impressed with it. Overall, the Coen brothers have kind of always been hit or miss with me. I don't really enjoy them as much as a lot of people do. But this one, the more I watch it, the more I get into it, the more I get into the characters. I love William H. Macy. I love Buscemi. I love just how like small time they are, and just how they're just dumb and in over their heads. I love those kind of characters. Like like Stormare is just waiting to kill Buscemi. He's just like waiting for his moment, and like Buscemi is clueless to that, and he thinks he's like completely in control. And same with Lundegaard, like with his big scheme, like he thinks he's good, like he thinks he's going to get away with it. He thinks he's like solved all his problems, and he just keeps getting deeper and deeper, and just like his own stupidity just keeps tripping over his own feet. I love that, and just Marge just being that like the smart one who just has to kind of like stay back and wait for them to screw up because they're so dumb, and I love that.
Okay, and Jake. I wonder what it is.
Number 21 and 22 is Kill Bill Volume 1 and Volume 2. That's perfect. I think this may be my favorite Quentin Tarantino movies. I've always loved Tarantino. I've been a big fan of his filmography since I started getting into films, like a lot of film people do. And I really just love how Tarantino just expresses his like love for Asian martial arts films into this, but still adding his own style to it. I think the Bride is one of my favorite characters. Uma Thurman is fantastic in this performance. I would have liked to have seen her get an Oscar nod for it. I really like the action scenes specifically. Tarantino puts so much effort into making each fight unique. Like when she fights Vivica A. Fox, there's just using all the household items and knives and you got the gun in the cereal box. It has Volume 1 has one of my favorite third acts of any film ever, when the Bride fights the Crazy 88 and then Go-Go and then Oren Ishii. It all just perfectly builds. It's like a video game in that setting, but it's not in a negative sense. It just keeps going, and the violence is so insane, and I love that. And I know he had to cut part of that and to make it black and white just because of the censorship, but it adds like that unique artistic style to it that only Tarantino can really perfectly capture. And it just is incredibly fun. Like one of my favorite action scenes in any film ever. And I do love that final battle between her and Oren Ishii. This is the first person off her list, and it just feels so satisfying when she gets her revenge in that aspect. With Volume 2, it takes a more Western approach, and it's a lot slower than the first one. But I really like when she's training with Pai Mei and kind of the relationship that both of them build. And then in the last hour of the movie, it's just her and Bill. And you start to see the relationship that once was and kind of the dynamic that both of them have. And it's much more of like a duel in the sense. and I really like that aspect. It's one of my favorite movies, one of the best movies of the 2000s. It's just one of the best revenge movies, and everything about it is just perfectly built up. Daryl Hannah also is just fantastic as Ellie.
So, yeah, there's a lot of people that can eye roll because you put them both. But if you talk to the man himself, he considers one movie. Literally, it's considered as one. I love both these movies. I really do. Best Tarantino, not mine. Personally, there are ones that
It's definitely tricky because there's so many great movies.
Right. You had Kill Bill.
I had 2 lower, so I don't know if
you're supposed to be in the corner, but go ahead and talk about it. Yeah.
Okay. I think Volume 2 is my favorite of the 2. I think Volume 1 is like a fantastic action picture. I prefer Volume 2 because of the character study and all that, but I do get the argument that they're both one movie, so fair. But I really love the character elements of Volume 2. I love Bill's monologue. I love Michael Parks. I love him in there as a speech about Postman Always Rings Twice. I think that's really great. I think there's just so much about this movie that really, really works. Yeah.
So I really enjoy these movies. I think it's 2 that people don't like as much as 1. I think that's the common.
I think that's consensus. Yeah.
I think that's what's brought out. So it's weird that Boatman just had the 1 and didn't have the other one. But that's fair. You like it better. I like both stories for where they go. Like I love the first one and how it all sets up in the battle. But I think I lean towards Boatman in the 2. I like 2 more, just because of the characters and the hunt down and the whole thing at the end with Bill. Some people consider it slow or whatever, but you actually see the dynamic with them and then how it all ends. I actually like. I know there's talk about a third one. I kind of just want to keep it here, but I don't know what they do, so maybe. But no, I have no problem with this being on there. That's a great choice. It's probably in my top 5 of Tarantino, the 2 of them. So great choice. You 2 on Kill Bill.
Go ahead, Kirk.
I really like this movie. I mean, this is Tarantino doing what he does. He takes something that he loves and kind of rips it off, but still makes it his own and makes something completely original. The Crazy 88's fight is fantastic. It's one of the best fight scenes. I like the first one better. I just like that, but like the training montages and sequences in the second one, and I love how quietly it ends. David Carradine is great in this. And that's what Tarantino really does great, especially early in his career, is just basically pull an actor off the scrap heap. Like a TV guy that nobody was noticing and just pulls an amazing performance out of him. David Carradine is great in this movie. And I love just the idea of the fact that this is basically just an idea that Tarantino and Uma Thurman would bounce around. I think when they were making Pulp Fiction, just an idea, just them chit-chatting is where this came from. And it's just, and I'd like to see the third one because I know right from the beginning, they talked about the idea of that third movie. So I'd like to see that maybe 5-10 years down the road. I think would be pretty cool. This has grown on me. At first, I wanted different Tarantino to be something different. The more I watch these, the more I like them. The more I get into Japanese cinema, the more I understand what's happening in these, and the more I enjoy them. So yeah, these are both really good movies.
Tarantino's a director that I've always prided on seeing most of the movies. These are the 2 that I have never seen. I've always been really wary of watching them because I know how much everyone loves them, and the subject matter of them are not necessarily movies that I typically gravitate to. I'm not really a martial arts movie fan in general. So I've always been hesitant, but I've always been meaning to watch. I know one day I'll sit down and watch them both in a day and double feature them and finally clear out my Tarantino checklist. But I know why people like them, and I get it. I just have never seen them. So.
As somebody that is not a martial arts fan, I think these are fine. I think you'll just both of them pretty easy. Okay, so that's the episode. I'm going to do something. I'm going to announce one by one, and the last list to come up is actually the winner of this episode. That's how I'm going to do it because everything was so close and so tight. So Koho, keep on toes. So last place today. Sorry, buddy. Kirk's in last tonight. Had some great ones, but some of them I just haven't seen personally. Haven't seen The Thing. Haven't Night of the Living Dead, Casablanca, Seven Samurai. You have great ones, just not there. It's okay to come around.
If you watch them between now and the end, I want credit for them.
We will see.
Get on that.
Next up will be Koho.
Fuck! I thought I had a shot, damn it!
Cole had a real big shot. Logan Lucky, just a little bit. Avengers Endgame, Ratatouille. Singing in the Rain, he got me, and then it was close, but it wasn't good here. Second place goes to Caleb Boatman.
What the fuck?
Caleb Boatman had a great list overall. No Country. He had It's a Wonderful Life. We haven't talked about it, but it's there. Truman Show was a big fan of the first time. And the winner is Jake Maringoni.
I'll take it.
What the actual fuck?
Holy shit.
Can we all just sit and calm down? For number 23 alone, he put it highest enough on his list. It's one of the movies that I'm so thankful that I had him on the show, so I was able to watch it. I know you had it lower, but I probably wouldn't have watched it if it was that low. I wanted to watch people's top movies as much as possible. So Jake wins for the good, the bad, and the ugly, hands down. He also had Kill Bill 1. He also had Kill Bill 1 and 2, and that's a great 1-3 punch. You had It's a Wonderful Life. You will pay for those sins later, and I promise you, you will not like it. So Jake actually,
you're the only one with multiple wins. I'll take it. That's just as good as the win.
So everybody, listen up while you're all here. I appreciate everybody being here.
Congratulations.
Again, the overall list. Again, you guys, the chat and everything has made this great. I even like the group that is watching on a giant call together. This is awesome. This is what I wanted from this show. I think everybody is. I am learning so much about these guys. I'm watching movies that I haven't ever seen. But next week, we're starting an hour early. I wish everybody would catch in. If you can't, again, just catch up with us. We're doing that episode, which is 20 through 11. Then we're doing 10 through 1. The episode following that, Your List Sucks, will not return to normal till 3 weeks. We're 3 weeks away because we're going to do a recap show. We're going to break down what this group's top 100 list is, the overall grades, what they wish they would have done different, what they wish they could have changed, if they would have added a movie, if they'd taken it. And Koho, you can announce here so far, has the movie that you have edited come up yet?
No.
Okay, so the movie is clearly in his top 20 that he has added that he did not include the first time. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Overall, the Yike list still coming. Koho's got some doozies. Bowman has a lot. Bowman's going to be talking a lot for the next couple weeks. He's got so many coming up. Then we got Kirk, very little, and Jake, very little, which I'm not surprised anymore at that point. I have a lot of topics that have come up. I think the one that we're going to return with, not decided, me and Koho will kind of decide, but I think movies that should have gotten sequels will probably be the first one back. I am also going to have Boatman and Kirk host an episode in between that first week back. So, again, they're going to decide on that for sure, lock it down. I think I got one for Kirk that I want him to run. But, yes, so please, the show will come back. Submit your list when you hear the list breakdown. We'll probably have that start airing next week, showing everybody what they are. So, thank you for being here, and peace.
In case I don't see ya. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
You better lawyer up, asshole. Because I'm not coming back for 30%. I'm coming back for everything.
Get what you fucking deserve!
Return to your lady friend. Duncan, please return to your lady friend.
Long live the king.
Hasta la vista, baby.